Coffee and Hardcore listeners. This is Wiley Willis from Chicago, Illinois, with my co-host
Mick Cox. I'm all the way from West Virginia and hanging out here at Coffee and Hardcore. This is episode 5, or really episode 1 of season 2, which is MC'd hammered on crystal clear Pepsi. That's what we're calling it.
That's right. Yeah, this is a weird episode because it was supposed to be December last episode, but now it kind of became season 1. Now it's January. It's not that confusing, but it's kind of confusing. You had a lot of junk happen in the last week. Some unfavorable events happened in December, and I'll let Mick get into that and explain if you want to.
Yeah. So we were prepping for the release of this episode, and we had and we'll get into this in a little bit. We have a ton of stuff that we were going to do for it that was special. And in the midst of December, which is Christmas and all that, we're trying to get editing done, and then the ability for me to move into my new house opened up, so that kind of pushed some things and slowed things down. We get in our house, we're setting things up, and then that's when I find out my dad and mom contracted COVID, and then it was a fast, quick, steady move towards my dad passing away on Christmas morning. So that kind of, between all of that, kind of shoved this back into January, and really thankful for you, Wiley, because you were like, hey, let's just not worry about this. Let's move it into next month, and we'll make it the first episode in season 2, which I'm extremely thankful for, because it was very helpful with my family going through some stuff and working on all that, which talking about this is very therapeutic for me. So, but, we've done the funeral for my dad last week. And then, from that, that was, we'll just give some context to when it was. It was January 1st. And then, some things took place at the funeral. There's some folks that showed up that were sick. And so now, I've tested positive for COVID, as well as, we're waiting on some results from my family to see what's going on. So it's a little anxious, some nerves going on and everything, but we're doing good. Not a whole lot of symptoms and everything. So yeah.
And you just got tested and had your whole family tested right before we did this.
Right before we recorded this intro. Yeah. We just came back from the medical center. We had to do our own, my wife had to do the test for the kids. And so, it's kind of one of those things that just kind of a little nerve wracking, but it's for the good. We can find out, what's going on, if the kids have it, if they don't have it, but also it keeps us from having to stay in quarantine longer, because I'm the only one that technically has a positive test, but basically my wife definitely has it because we're in the same house. But with this, then we won't have to stay in quarantine longer than 14 days. So that's way better than waiting until the end of the month to get out.
Yeah. That's why I was like, hey man, we can reschedule this if you want to. And you're like, nope, let's do it.
No, let's do it. It's good. It's very therapeutic. It gets, able to talk and talk to other people and stuff. So yeah, sure. It's good. But yeah, I just want to, I know a lot of people who listen to the podcast and everything have reached out and sent some messages and even donated to Dad's GoFundMe that the church that he worked for did. I'm very grateful for that. And so it's really helped even with my mom with dealing with some of this, seeing that all these people from all over the country, send words of encouragement and even donate towards stuff like that. It's just, it was just really cool to see that happen. Because if you don't mind, I'll just mention this too. We talk a lot about, the bands that we are in or were in the past. And, I was in Zao and started that band. And honestly, if it wasn't for my dad, there wouldn't have been a Zao, because he's the one that opened up the building that we used, the church, to practice in. We were in there 3 times a week. He let us go in there anytime we wanted to. If we didn't have money for equipment, he would either find equipment or donate towards it and get us equipment to play shows, whatever. The first trailer that we took cross country was my dad's lawnmower trailer that we
Nice.
actually built. We built 4 walls, for it, and tried to seal it as best we can to take it on the road. And it made it all the way to Oklahoma before it broke in half.
Broke in half?
Yeah, it broke it. The trailer hitch just totally snapped while we're sitting at a rest area, which was really good. It wasn't when we were driving down the road. But yeah, he totally gave that to us to go on tour with and everything. So
what was what was the outcome when you told him you broke it in half?
Oh, we we were at a rest area, and the rest area was different. It was in Oklahoma, and it actually had a couple shops that were there, and they were owned by Native Americans, and they were basically selling jewelry and different things. And so I remember Roy Gowdy and I, the guitar player, were actually inside the store looking at different turquoise jewelry, and we were waiting on Jesse and Sean to pull across the parking lot, and then Sean runs in and says, "The trailer broke." And we walk outside, and it's totally snapped. Like if we were driving on the interstate, it would have totally flipped and lost all of our equipment. And I'll never forget, there was this older Native American dude, basically looked like a grandpa, looked at us and was like, "I'll buy that from you for $20."
The trailer?
Yeah, the trailer, because it's completely. And so we just sit there and looked at it, and we were like, "What do we do?" So I ran. This is before cell phones. I ran to a payphone and called my dad and said, "Hey, the trailer hitch broke. What do we do?" And he goes, "I don't know. You close to a U-Haul?" I said, "We can find out." And I said, "We're gonna, this is done. What do you want us to do?" He goes, "Just take the lights off of it." So I went back over and borrowed a screwdriver from this old grandpa dude, and he gave me a screwdriver. And I took the back, the tail lights off this trailer and threw them in the truck. And the guy we sold it to the dude for like $30. And then we found a U-Haul place an hour away, and we went in to rent it. And we were like, "Yeah, we got to get back to West Virginia." And he goes, "All right." And so he set us up, but we didn't tell him that to get to West Virginia, we were going to drive all the way out to California, and then all the way up to Seattle, and then all the way into Canada, and then all the way back down.
Because you're still on tour.
Yeah. So we drove from Oklahoma to California to Seattle, up into Canada, back down, and then across the northern part of the country, and made it to Purple Door Festival in Pennsylvania, and then came home. So we took the long way around to West Virginia. I remember I remember Jesse and I were the ones that took the trailer back, and we basically had just like took it in and like tried to run. We were like dropped it off and like through, there was no keys because it's just the trailer. We're like just dropping it off and like, "Here you go. We brought it back."
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, I think when we were in California, we were in Huntington Beach, California, and we parked in this one spot, and I'm pretty sure that trailer got tagged. I think somebody spray painted their tag on it. So
and you just left it there like that?
Oh, yep. Just returned it.
So you already paid for this trailer to use it, right?
Well, we rented the
you rented it, but I'm saying, like, did you rent it for a certain amount of days?
We just told them we were bringing it back to West Virginia. Like, we didn't tell them how many days we're going to be gone.
Gotcha. Because I don't know I know how U-Hauls work, but I don't know how the trailers work. Like, if you have it for more than like 5 days, do you get charged extra? I don't know.
Oh,
that doesn't matter. Why are we talking about this?
I don't know.
Next.
It was a good story.
No, I mean, why are we talking about renting trailers? Why am I going into the details? No one cares. The story was great.
Yeah.
My contribution to the story, not so much.
Oh man.
So let's get back to this.
Right.
So in this podcast, we're talking to Rich of Everybody's Coffee, and they're giving away some cool stuff. They gave some stuff to us. They gave us some coffees, some t-shirt, mugs, buttons. So
Yeah.
we're giving that away, right? Yeah, we're gonna do a giveaway.
Yeah.
Also, we chat with Steven from Turbo Vamps and the Friskie Morris podcast,
Right.
and good buddy of mine.
Yeah, that's a good interview too. I really enjoyed that. So I'm excited for that to come out. So people will be digging that pretty much. We also, not only are we giving away this stuff from Everybody's Coffee, but we still have the Zayo preface albums to give away. So are we giving away vinyl and a cassette? Is that how we're working that?
Yo, check this out.
All right.
Let me look this up. We have 4 bundles that we're giving away.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. So, okay. So we're going to give away 2 coffee bundles. And the coffee bundles, like I just mentioned, have, let's see here. So we'll do bundle 1. Bundle 1 has the Zayo preface, whatever vinyl, right?
Right.
It has a Friskie Morris and Friends Turbo Vamps split 12-inch vinyl. It has a Turbo Vamps 7-inch. It has a What's Your Damage split, and it has the suicide prevention comp on it. So that's kind of like a multimedia bundle.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Bundle 2 is Everybody's Coffee bundle. It's got a t-shirt. It's got a bag of coffee from Everybody's Coffee. It's got a coffee cup. It's got Welcome to Chicagoland comp that we're giving away. And it's got the suicide prevention comp. That's bundle 2.
Dang.
Bundle 3, another multimedia. We got Zayo preface, however you say it, on cassette tape.
Okay.
Blue cassette tape.
Nice.
We have a 2-minute minor snake that ate its own tail 7-inch. We have a What's Your Damage 7-inch. We have a Turbo Vamps 7-inch. And we have a suicide prevention comp.
Dang. So what's number 4?
Bundle 4 is basically the same thing as bundle 2. It's got the coffee cup, coffee, shirt, 2 comps.
Nice.
Yeah. And so I think what we're going to do is once this comes out, we're going to have people share it, right?
Yes.
And they're going to tag us. They're going to tag Coffee and Hardcore.
Yes.
And then they're going to post it on either Instagram or Facebook.
Yeah.
And we will be doing a drawing.
Yes.
And we will be giving away, I think we'll probably start that drawing in February.
Nice.
Because I don't know when this is going to come out, because we still gotta
we're still working on the date on that. Yeah.
But I kind of wanted to put all the names in a hat and have your kids pick.
Well, yeah, dude, they'll love that.
We'll draw for bundle 1, bundle 2, bundle 3,
Oh yeah. So since we're talking about stuff dropping, do you want to talk about what you guys got dropping in February?
Sure.
Do you want to throw that out there now, since this is coming out in January? So
is that okay?
I think so. I mean, I'm excited for it. I know other people are excited for it. I think you should share it.
Oh yeah, and that whole Facebook, Instagram debacle, we got that taken care of. Remember when they released them early on the stories?
Yes. I'm glad you got it.
Yeah, it was out for like 6 days though.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But I mean, it's not the end of the world. It's not like we're a big band or anything.
Right.
But think if like a big band had something dropping and they didn't want it leaked. And it did. Like floating around on these stories, Luckily, no one cares about us. But anyways, 2-minute minor kids album. It's all 80s and 90s kids cartoon themes. And your family had a lot to do with it, too.
Yeah, they're stoked to be a part of it. Really stoked.
It's funny because on Reading Rainbow, Libby and I's favorite part is when your son does the giggle at the end. We rewind that and keep listening to it. You gotta drop it in right now. And again, right?
Now.
But it's so funny. I have to at least listen to it 2 or 3 times.
Oh,
it's so good. The giggle part is the best. I have to keep listening to it. But anyways, yeah, we did 10 kids themed songs, and we have like 20 something kids doing gang vocals.
Oh yeah.
They basically made that record. Like we did it all lockdown style because right when this has been in the works for a while, for at least a year, but right when we were about to do it again, they locked down Chicago again, basically.
Oh.
So we did it basically just like those 2 lockdown records we did. Like we all did it on our phones or our computers. It's what we had to do.
Right.
But we're raising money for suicide prevention on that. All the download money from that goes to suicide prevention. We're selling them for $5 a piece, the CDs. So yeah.
Look,
yeah.
Artwork looks killer too. So
yeah, that's by Mick Lambrou from Australia. He did the Make America Hate Again's last Slapshot record.
Oh wow.
Artwork.
Nice.
So it's good to have, and he did the Up the Pups artwork too.
Oh yeah. Okay. Nice.
Oh, speaking of Up the Pups, we're doing Up the Pups Volume 2.
Nice.
And Mick's doing artwork for that too. And I noticed you were wearing the Bitter Truth shirt.
Yeah.
They're gonna be on it.
Oh, that's cool. Nice.
Yeah, man.
I saw where Skeletones is opening back up in their tentatively,
yeah.
Yeah, for September.
September.
And Bitter Truth and the other band we really like, We're Self. And then our bro
band,
Larry. Yeah. Iron
Yeah.
Sharpens Iron. That's pretty cool.
I don't know. I might even have to go to. It's only like a 3-hour drive for me.
Nice.
No.
Grand Rapids.
It's closer than. Yeah, it's like 2.5.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think Grand Rapids is closer to Chicago than 3.
It is.
Yeah.
It's closer. I was thinking Kalamazoo, where Jeff is, and we did practices for 2 Minute Minor. That's 3.
Wow.
Grand Rapids is closer. Yeah. Welcome to season 2, episode 1 of Coffee and Hardcore Podcast. What now?
Hello?
All right, so it is coffee review time, and we've got everybody's coffee from Uptown Chicago. Rich sent us some stuff to taste and check out. And you want me to go first?
Yeah, man.
All right. So I got the Abyss, and it's, of course, dark, which is what I tend to like. And I thought it was good. I had to give it a couple tries because I think I made it way too strong the first time. I did it in a French press, and I did way too much, and I made it in the middle of the afternoon. It was right around the time the bags of coffee came because I was so excited and made it way too strong. And I kind of turned me off a little bit. So I was like, okay, we'll give this another try. We'll do it tomorrow. And did it the way I normally make my coffee. And honestly, it was really smooth, smoky. I tried it black and liked it. And then, of course, to do the way I normally do my coffee, I'm a wuss. I add some cream, some sugar, and I dug it. I mean, for a dark blend, it was pretty good. I dug it.
Did you drink it out of your everybody's coffee cup that he sent?
I did, which is pretty sweet. Like, yeah,
look at you, got it right there.
Dig it, man.
Tell everybody what the back says. I like that slogan.
Yeah, the back says everybody means everybody, which is
Everybody's
kind of cool
coffee.
because it's like almost like an infinity because it's everybody means everybody means everybody means everybody. So I thought that was pretty cool.
It is cool.
Yeah, and I actually took a picture of it, posted it up on my Instagrams, and I actually got some comments on it. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Instagramma.
Yeah, people dug the saying or the slogan. So yeah, so I dug it. It was pretty good. I know we compare everything to Oak and Crow because that seems to be like our favorite one on the show. So, this one's kind of hanging out down there where Just was, like when we did Just Coffee. So I'm kind of, because I got a dark coffee from them as well. And so I would say it's just a little bit above Just. is where I'm going to go.
Okay.
With this. I mean, I would, if this is in my house, I'm going to drink it. I'm not going to regret it. I'm not going to hate it. I'm going to, I'll drink it. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is that my cue to start?
No, like you can go. I was,
I don't know if you had anything more to say about it.
no, super smooth, smoky, the abyss. It's dark.
Nice. So I like that every bag of coffee helps house and feed. This is what they say in their bag. Every bag of coffee helps house and feed our neighbors experiencing homelessness. And I know that they team up with CCO, which is Cornerstone Community Outreach here in Chicago, which is a homeless shelter. Shelters. They do a woman and children shelter and a men's shelter. And I follow them on Instagram, and I know a lot of people that work there through the church that I was a part of in the community for a long time. And they actually they house people, man. They're putting the rubber to the road. They're, putting the sneakers to the ground, and they're actually doing this. They're actually speaking their words that it's on the back of this coffee bag. So they post pictures of, people holding keys to their new apartments or new houses or whatever. And
oh man, that's legit.
They're doing it. So I give them so many props for that. Like that's huge. And that's much needed in any community. And so the coffee that I had was the Uptown Honduras and Brazil blend, medium roast. It says, has pecan, caramel, balanced kind of flavors. And I know the smell when I was grinding the beans, was brewing it. It was a very comforting smell for sure. To me, it kind of had a sharp taste. It wasn't super smooth to me. It had a bite to it, but I didn't mind that at all, honestly. It has an aftertaste that it was a welcomed aftertaste, and I think it's a solid cup of coffee. If I'm gonna rate this thing, I'd probably give this thing a B plus.
Where did you say it was from?
I think it's a decent cup of coffee. It looks like it is the Honduras and Brazil blend.
Yeah. I'm wondering because I've had some coffee beans from those places before, and I'm wondering if that's kind of the taste. What was the word you described? Like it wasn't smooth, but it was
I said it had a sharp taste to it.
Yeah.
It had a bite to it.
Yeah. I'm wondering if that's because that's from that area.
Yeah. And again, I'll put the disclaimer out there that in no way whatsoever are we professional coffee tasters or drinkers. We just know how to taste coffee. So I was talking to my wife about this, and actually this morning we were talking about, she was teaching me how to, so we got this dark matter coffee, and she was teaching me how to actually taste it. Like you take a sip, you kind of gurgle it a little bit and throw it in the back of your mouth. And she's right. Like all those flavors came rushing in my palate, and I was like, dang, this is crazy. Like I didn't know that's how you're supposed to do that. And she was like, it was cute on the first episode because it reminded me of little kids, little kids like in school trying to tell their teacher how a piece of pie tasted. And I was like, oh, hell. He's like, no, it's not a bad thing. You guys aren't, professional coffee people. And I was like, no, I know. And we don't, say we are. We don't pretend to be.
It's just funny because you and I probably drink coffee for probably the same reasons. We grab it because to drink it in the morning, and then when you're at work, it's something that I don't want to say it's a pick me up, but it's like, it's more than just drinking a Coke or I don't know. It's just different. It's so
I stay away from soda. So yeah, coffee is like my.
So it's like I don't know. It's like it's not like I'm professionally tasting this.
Right.
Coffee. Like what do they call the wine tasters? What are those guys called?
Oh, I don't even know.
Is it I'm not going to butcher it, but I'm thinking of the
I'm sure they
episode
do
of
the same thing where they drink it and swish it and all that
yes,
stuff.
because I watched an episode of Parks and Rec where they go and try to find a wine tester for
for the restaurant.
yes, for the restaurant.
Yeah, for Jude's restaurant.
And that guy that yells.
Aziz Ansari.
No, he's the one that has the restaurant. It's the guy that.
Oh yeah, he's like.
It's in the later seasons.
yeah,
he comes
yeah.
in and he yells all the time, and he wants to be the wine taster.
Yeah. I can do this.
Yes.
I can be the wine taster.
Yeah, and he's tasting the wine. And he goes, "It tastes like a bad day with your boyfriend when you're like." He goes through the whole long story.
That dude, he's funny in like small doses for sure.
Yes. Yeah. Totally.
If I had to watch a show where he was like the main guy, I don't know if I could handle it. Yeah, so I just want to we went down a side road there, but
We did. It all tied together.
it was a good solid cup of coffee. And I
Yeah.
love that they give back to the community. And they roast right next to the t-shirt printing shop that I work at. And all the employees that are there are super nice and super welcoming. And I always get to smell coffee roasting. And so that's a plus for sure. And number one thing is they're giving back to the community. And when we talk with Rich, you'll hear about why they got the coffee that they did and who it's helping and how it's helping them. And so I think they're very communal based coffee company. Well, I know they are.
Right.
And I think that's huge and that's very important. It's a good cup of coffee. I
Yeah.
recommend it.
Yeah. Awesome.
I've had terrible cups of coffee, and this one definitely isn't terrible.
Right.
But again, our standard is Oak and Crow, so
Right.
that's going to be a hard one to beat for me. I like that we measure everything in Oak and Crow coffee now.
Right. it's the standard.
Yeah, it's the golden star.
So yeah, if you're coming in under Oak and Crow and you're at a B plus, it's legit.
That's legit, especially a B plus from people who don't even know what they're talking about.
Exactly.
Especially how my wife said it. Kids who are trying to describe their favorite pie.
Right.
Legit.
Right.
I was like, well, at least she's honest.
Right. We're just two kids drinking coffee.
Exactly. And that's the thing I was telling her. I was like, I kind of feel weird, like deceptive in a way, because Coffee and Hardcore started not because I knew anything about coffee, but because I woke up in the morning, just made coffee and would drink it and listen to records, And so when the whole thing started, like I said, I was just posting pictures of album covers and, drinking coffee at 4:35 in the morning and trying to wake up and trying to listen to some great records. And then I started posting it online and just try to get some local bands or not as well-known bands heard by people because I thought they were awesome. And they started saying, oh, thanks. I know we already talked about this on the first podcast, but thanks for, putting this stuff up. We sold a few records. We sold a couple of shirts or whatever. And then people reaching out like, where's the podcast? Isn't this a podcast? I'm like, no, it's just weird pictures of me holding records and drinking coffee. Well, why the hell is it that? Put out a podcast. So here we are. How? We don't know.
All right, that wraps up the review of Everybody's Coffee from Uptown Chicago. And we'll have Rich on here in a little bit to tell us more about it.
Time for the next level.
What's up, everybody? We welcome Rich Trochet of Everybody's Coffee. So what's up, Rich? Rich is a husband.
How's it going?
He's a father. He's one of the main people in Everybody's Coffee machine. Keeps it rolling, keeps it running.
My business card says founder. So if I was really flexing, I always say I'm like founder.
You're a co-founder though, right?
I am one of the co-founders. Yeah. Sorry, Glenn, I already screwed up. Wiley,
now we have to have that conversation with the listeners.
I know you were introducing me, and I cut you off. So I apologize.
No, you're fine. I was just gonna say, fun fact: everybody's coffee roasts their coffee right next to the T-shirt shop that I work at, and so I get to smell Rich's hard sweat coffee work, and I like it.
Disclaimer: you could add this in, Mick, that there's no sweat in
No
our
sweat.
coffee.
Okay.
No sweat in this coffee.
But also,
I'm still in the introduction phase, though. By the way.
Okay. Ooh. We're off to good starts here.
So
Go
Rich
ahead,
is a
sorry.
skateboarder, a Texan, a coffee tycoon, a fan of punk rock, and
Mhm.
lives in an intentional community of a few hundred people. His coffee company also raises money for CCO, Cornerstone Community Outreach, a homeless shelter here in Chicago. So let's get into it. Rich,
Yeah.
how did you get into working and basically running everybody's coffee?
Yep.
You were at one point a train hopper, and then
I
you
was.
completely switched directions.
I did. Yeah. Thanks for letting me cut you off like 8 times in there. I'm just so I was telling you as we were getting going here, I've been excited about getting to be on the podcast with you guys, and also
Very good
getting
to
to
have
listen to your previous podcast. So I'll do my own shout out. If you guys haven't listened to the other podcasts, you guys got to listen to the other episodes. They're just solid.
If you accidentally stumbled on this one,
This
go back
one,
and listen
yeah,
to the rest.
and then didn't go down the line. We got some things. Okay, so to kind of get us going. The question, right, was how did it all get started?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I used to travel around. I was train hopping, and pretty punk. I was pretty anarchist, pretty against the world. I took off at a pretty young age too. I was like a runaway, so I took off when I was like 15, and I kind of disappeared for like a year or two. And what's been amazing now, because I'm a married parent now, like I can't even imagine what my family had to kind of go through at that time. And so now, like my family, like being reconciled with my family and really having those connections now, it gives me a lot of perspective. But yeah, so taking off at a young age, train hopping, super punk, living the anarchist lifestyle, or what I deemed that, and really trying to be against the man, which is funny because I am so the man now. I pay taxes. I pay a lot of taxes. But yeah, I ended up kind of, yeah, my life was, I think I wanted to be just, free and alive and live off the fat of the land a little bit. And I was just really, this punk kid who didn't want to be told anything or what to do, and listen to whatever music I wanted to listen to and do whatever I wanted to do. And it went great until it didn't anymore, and then I realized like, oh, I can't fly, or, I'm not invincible.
Sure.
And so I think life has a great way of doing that. It quickly teaches you your limits. And so that's
Age does that too, eh?
yeah, it does. Yes, it does. So I ended up, I guess, trying to figure out kind of purpose, like what I wanted to do. And really what I look back and realize now is I was really not feeling business. I felt like business and economy, commerce, all that was like the evil thing, and those are the punk songs, like tear apart those banks, bring back that money, yeah. And so, but what's funny is I look back now and I realize I was just really, I think, against myself, because I really do enjoy business, and I really do enjoy like what the ability to like impact society through a business or through commerce or through these things, the ability now. But at that point, I think what I really was rebelling against was myself, was like my actual things that I liked being, just hustling. Really, it was hustling. I loved hustling and I loved all of that. And then as soon as I called that business or commerce, I was like, no way, man, I'm not the man. But I'll have side hustles all day, And and I was a skateboarder too. So I'm like, I'm
You
just
still
like
are,
skating. Right? I am, yeah. I'm slower now. Or as my my bone doctor said, I'm not as aggressive of a skateboarder. That's what
Your
he's
bone
like.
doctor?
You gotta, yeah. Well, like what?
You You got to have a bone doctor when you're an older skateboarder, right?
You do. You have to, or you will literally fall apart. I love I get to see you guys' face expressions. They're very helpful in this.
I remember my first introduction to Rich Mick was I was sitting at this table, and I don't know, there was like 5 or 6 people at the table, and they're like, "Oh, look, it's the rich guy," and I'm like, "What are you talking about? I'm not rich. I don't have a lot of money." They're like, "No, you got the same tattoo as Rich," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" They're like, "Someone has a similar tattoo," and I'm like, "I got to see this rich guy." So I remember I think you were at the skate shop and I saw you, and I was like, "Holy shit, he does have a similar tattoo on his face. That's cool." Show Mick real quick.
Yeah, it's kind of, you don't meet many people who have similar face tattoos.
Oh, wrong side.
Wrong side. I do that all the time. I'm always like, "Look at this," and they're like, "Nope."
Like yours is it 2 lines?
It's 2 lines and some dots on the top,
Yeah,
and then some dots under my eyes.
Mine's 3 lines.
Yeah.
And it has words in it.
No words, just lines.
But that's crazy. I had no idea. That's the first time I ever met you and knew about you. You know, the guy with the face tattoo like yours.
Yeah.
And I think you later told me the story. Wasn't it for a friend of yours that got in a car accident and died?
Those are on my hands, actually.
Oh, on your hand. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No. I did his brother. This is probably where the story combines. His brother got this tattoo. He had it. My roommate who died had that tattooed on his face, and then his brother got the same tattoo on his face, and I did that tattoo for my roommate's brother.
Gotcha.
So yeah, no, it was a really meaningful tattoo, and I did that on myself too. I know tattoos are that way, man. They have this. You can that's like a podcast in itself. I'm gonna pitch that to you guys as the
for sure.
As the entrepreneur guy. I'll be the Shark Tank. Here's my ideas for you. Tattoo stories.
Go ahead.
No, just to I'll get there. My round out was I ended up, I think, realizing, I had the opportunity. I was on my way. One of my traveling buddy who also has a face tattoo. So we'll just keep the face tattoo as the thread. He was starting a snow shoveling business up in Minneapolis.
Snow shoveling. Hold up. Snow shoveling?
Yeah.
Or snow plowing?
No, shoveling.
Oh, boy.
Lucrative business. It was you're on call anytime, and you essentially just straight up, when they call you, you're out there shoveling snow. But it's big contracts, and so people are willing to pay a lot of money to have you come shovel at any point, and especially in Minneapolis, man. That's snow.
I know all about shoveling, being from the UP.
I know.
I'd be good at that.
Dude, I'm from South Texas. I didn't even know what I had signed up for. I'd never spent a winter in the north at that time.
Yeah.
I always went south when I was traveling. I always went south when winter came around. I'd go
for good reason, yeah.
Yeah. So I was in New Orleans or Florida or back in Texas whenever it was February or January. So I had zero idea what I was signing up for. But luckily I didn't make it up there.
It's an arm workout.
Yeah. No, truly. I ended up stopping in Chicago because one of my side hustles is I was a sound engineer. I helped run sound at a small venue in South Texas called Enthos. And then I got picked up to do sound at this Christian music festival called Cornerstone. And so starting in '99, I would come and do whatever. I did a lot of back rigging, and then I would do sound, and predominantly at the underground stage.
So you worked with Brian?
I did. I worked with Brian Gray. I worked with Robert Goodwin.
Darren, right?
Darren, they were more over at the encore stages.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so yeah, working at Cornerstone is really what connected me to this intentional community called Jesus People USA. And so I was on that's all I knew about it. It was this intentional community. And so I was on my way to Minneapolis, and there's a train that runs from from Chicago to Minneapolis. There's a commuter train that you can ride. And so my plan, I had gotten a ride to Chicago, and then I'd called ahead to see if maybe I could spend a day or two to check out this Jesus People community. and then I was going to hop the commuter train up to Minneapolis and do the seasonal work. That did not end up happening. I got to Chicago, and at that time, the Christian community had started a discipleship training school, like a it's
You're
like
not talking about
11 months.
P12 though, are you?
P12, yeah, that's exactly
yeah, okay.
it.
I took
Yeah.
P12.
Oh, there you go. Common thread there again with Wiley. And so then, so while I was doing that, this guy named Tim, who's kind of part of the businesses in the community, he had bought this coffee cart, and then some of the skateboarders wanted to start a skate shop. Or there's another, like an older skate guy who was like, I want to start the skate shop. So then the idea was like, you guys we'll help you get started on the skate shop, but you got to like roll this coffee idea into it. So, because people aren't buying skateboards in the winter.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's how it started.
Yeah. So they're like, and they're kind of, they're like, I paint this story differently depending on how I'm telling it, but the real truth of it. So here's the exclusive. They kind of put it to me like, dude, if you want to be a part of the skate shop, you're going to have to learn to do coffee. So are you up for it? Because if you don't learn coffee, no skate park, no skate shop.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, okay. But for the best.
So is that
actually,
why you guys serve coffee in there, like kind of later on in the beginning?
Yeah.
In the skate shop, right? You did.
From the beginning, we served coffee.
Oh,
Yeah.
from the beginning.
Yeah. So
I remember I went in there with Kevin Garza.
Okay.
And
shout out Train Hopper. So that was a good Train Hopper reference. Another one.
Kevin's my bud. He was my roommate for a long time.
He's Kevin. Literally, for my honeymoon, we decided we wanted to go off the map. So we're literally out in the mountains in the middle of nowhere in North Carolina. Like no cell service, no nothing. And we're walking down a street in the middle of this small town. Like you couldn't find it on GPS. And here comes Kevin Garza flying down the street in like a cargo truck. And I see him and he sees me, and we lock eyes and we point at each other because we're literally in the middle of nowhere. North Carolina.
He shows up in random places.
Yeah. And so then we ended up having breakfast the next day. And he literally had he was supposed to come to the wedding, and then he had sent me this random Kevin text, like, sorry, man, not going to make it.
I'm stuck somewhere that doesn't have a name.
Yeah. And then congratulations. And then sure enough, I got to spend my honeymoon with Kevin. It was a great.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was a great. Yeah, it was.
I saw him in Kalamazoo, Michigan, when I was there. I saw him walking down the street, and I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
So I'm like, "Hey, Kevin," and he came and stayed with me for a few months. That's the randomness of Kevin.
It is. To not to go on too much with Kevin. I think Kevin is who was like, I was like, who's this Wiley guy? Everybody's like, dude, have you seen the dude with the face tattoo? Like that was similar. People came to me and were like, did you see the other dude with the face tattoo? And Kevin was the one who was like, yeah, man, Wiley's a solid dude. He's an amazing musician. Like he gave me all this just heavy cred line on Wiley Willis. Yeah. So then I was like, all right. And so I apologize that I don't know if I ever enter straight up or we had an introduction period. I just remember a couple people were like, Wiley's so cool. And then I was like, okay, Wiley's so cool. So I just I know that world is like that sometimes. Yeah.
None of that happened, Nick.
What did I said?
That dude's a turd, but he has a face tattoo like yours, so I get to know him.
No. And I hopefully Mick, I've gotten vouched in a little bit. Rich is a cool dude, so I hope I got that.
Yeah, that happened. It happened.
Okay, good. Okay.
So
so the cafe and the skate shop started.
Yeah.
And we did that for about 5 years, and they were both great. They grew, and so then we decided to kind of split the businesses. And we started out as just a pure non-for-profit business, which was super awesome and a great introduction for me, because again, I was still pretty F the man, and we're gonna break down the monarchy. And
at this point,
what's that?
At the point when you started the actual coffee shop?
Yeah, for sure. because I still love the Robin Hood style of business, like take from the rich and kind of give back. And so then when we split the businesses, we kind of had to do some because we were growing in size on the cafe side. We were going to triple in size. And a big part of what we were wanting to do with the model of that business was to be able to give back directly to the homeless shelter that our community helps run. And so to do that, we needed to be a non-for-profit, a for-profit business. Because the for-profit can donate to a non-for-profit. It looks kind of weird when a non-for-profit donates to another non-for-profit. It's kind of like what's going on.
Sure.
So
that makes sense.
So then we made the jump, and we became a for-profit business. I became a full-on capitalist. I just tore every anarchy magazine, just tore them all up.
He Brillo patted his tattoo.
Yeah, I had to get all my tattoos
Anarchy
off.
for life.
My squatter's right tattoo had to come off real quick. And shout out to anybody who gets that reference. But yeah, and then we started a pure cafe, and we added a bakery and a breakfast and lunch menu. And then our roasting has been our newest, like when I say newest, 3 years, has been our newest venture of really sourcing coffee directly from the farmer. And that's it's been way more approachable on my end because all my family, or all my dad and all my family on that end is from Paraguay, is from South America. And so I was going there, or I was trying to go there at least once a year. And so then I just started kind of rounding that into I'll fly to Central America, and then I'll fly to Paraguay, to South America on my way. And then started meeting with different producers, different farmers, and started building those relationships. And so that's what my goal right now, especially on the coffee side, is sourcing as much coffee as we can directly, and pairing directly. So that's where we're really able to impact on that end, where we can really invest with the farmer and pay a super fair wage. And because coffee is set on, and I think you guys talked a little bit with somebody else about this, is set by the stock market. So it has nothing to do with quality. It's just whatever it's trading. And that's called the C market. So the commodity market price. It's usually, right now, it's been like $1 a pound of green coffee, which if you think America right now is buying at an average $20 to $22 per pound of coffee, and the farmer is getting $1 of that, and then
That's
also
crazy.
having to pay their neighbors and friends who are helping pick that coffee. So that breaks down pretty quickly. And so for us to be able to pay an average of $4 to $5 a pound per green, so that's almost whatever quadruple C market, depending on whatever that's coming in.
I'm sure that helps a lot.
Yeah, I did a talk recently with a high school. This is pre-lockdown and COVID and all that, but there's this Latin school here in Chicago, and they do these really cool interactive. So I was on a panel, and I was just talking about you should, just to give some reference, $1 per pound is what some of the farmers we were working with, they were getting paid that for 12, 15 years. And then when we started working together, we, started paying $4 a pound. And so they're paying 4 times as much, or, getting 4 times as much in 1 year. And so I was like, you guys, when you go home, ask your parents, what would you do if you made 4 times as much, if you took what you made this year and you times 4, would we be doing really well? Would we be doing okay? What would you do if we did that? And my hope,
Coffee.
Yeah, exactly. But my hope was for the high school kids to kind of have that interaction with their parents of
that's a
let's
good
say
thought
their
to put into someone's head, though.
Yeah, they make their parents make, let's say 70 to 100,000 real nice, but 100,000 a year or something. And then they go make 400,000, almost $500,000 a year. That's
that'd be crazy.
That would be catastrophic. You'd be like, dude, we're going to go to the Hamptons or something,
Will change your life for sure.
I don't know what people like that. I don't make
It'll change your life and open up a lot more options for you to grow your business.
For sure. And I think that's really been what we've seen on the producer, on the farming side, is seeing where is really investing. We're really investing in that business side and seeing, because the producers they're really taking care of the coffee. They're sorting it, they're processing it. So really a lot of care goes into that quality. And so we're really able to pay for quality, which again is a whole nother subject in itself. Why we wouldn't do that just always. Oh, nice.
But I was gonna say, man, so you guys you're giving back to the community in Chicago, the CCO.
Yep.
It
So we
even
take
says on your labels that every bag.
For every pound we
feed.
give a proceed of that goes straight back to Cornerstone Community Outreach, the shelter here. They're the second largest shelter in Chicago and the largest family shelter.
Yeah, they have a men and women, or women and children's and a men's shelter, right?
They have actually like 4 programs. That's pretty amazing. They have like single men's program, single women's program, a families program, which is pretty. They were the first to kind of do that in the city, because back in the day, if you were homeless and had kids, they would send your kids to DHS, and then you had to just go to the shelter, which is just insane, in my personal opinion. But so now families are able to who are experiencing homelessness are able to kind of find housing together. And then they also have a single parents program as well. So yeah, they're an amazing just organization who's been going for over 35 years.
Yeah, 35 years, yeah.
Yeah.
And they recently just did a lot of upgrades to the shelter. Phil had me come in and help paint it and strip it down, and when COVID hit,
Yeah.
So that was fun to do.
I didn't know that you were a part of that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was good. It was fun. Yeah, we went in and cleaned it all, and then power sprayed it, and yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah,
they're nice.
Yeah, they're really going for, especially in kind of COVID times. They've really reworked their whole program just so that there's a lot of safety precautions in. And I will say, shout out to our city of Chicago. They've really, our mayor and all of that has really gone out of their way. Yep. She did a press conference today. Anyways, they've really gone out of their way to make sure those who are at most at risk, or like for, at different facilities, stuff like that, that they're really have the ability to get tests quickly and a lot of different options and stuff. So that's been cool to see. All right, I feel like I'm rambling a little bit.
No, you're fine. You actually, I know I sent you the outline, and you kind of answered some of these, so that's really cool. And I knew that would happen.
I haven't even looked at it, so.
So, but let's bust into this real quick. This is pretty cool for the listeners. You offered to do a holiday gift basket giveaway, right?
Yeah, they're at the printers, the boxes themselves. And I was really pushing to try to get one here so I could be like, yeah, here it is. I know.
Yeah, talk about it.
For sure. Yeah, we're excited to do a giveaway. And I know we never really, I think we're going to do 2 different gift boxes.
Yeah.
And one of them, I'd love to do one. So it's a gift box with a bag of our coffee and a mug, which you guys are both rocker. I know you got.
Bling, bling. Every time I come around the city.
And then we'd like to do the second gift box, similarly, a great bag of coffee, and then a thermos.
Ooh, a thermos.
Yeah. Ooh. Check that out.
Oh. Those are
killer.
Cool. Are they
so
they're kind of like those
they're like
their
tumblers.
Thermos brand?
Yeah. And what's amazing is they keep things insanely hot. Like I had a sample one that I gave to our baker, and he was like, he was filling it up, and I told him, I was like, dude, you're gonna want to like leave the lid off so that you can like let it cool down. And he's like, nah, it's fine. And he came back like an hour later. He's like, it burned my tongue.
Yeah, his tongue melted.
Yeah, if you guys want a sneak peek of what that looks like, by the time you're listening to this, it'll be on our website, everybody'scoffee.com. We'll have it in our merch, our gift and merchandise. You'll be able to see the gift boxes, so you can go and see the cool custom printed boxes that we're going to be sending out. We already have like 20 pre-orders on them.
Wow.
Which is cool. I'm very grateful. Again, a lot of support during this time has been awesome from a lot of our regulars and just people who kind of are kind of seeing that even in the midst of this craziness, we've really been trying to, as much as we can, support both ends. The biggest win for us this year, or at least me, or that I'm calling a win for us, is there's many wins, but one of the ones that means a lot to me is we were able to buy all the coffee that we bought last year from all the farmers that we bought from last year. We were able to buy all the same amount of coffee, so we were able to keep all of the relationships and the contracts and
that's
all
awesome.
of and that hasn't been the case in a lot of and not to speak ill of anybody else in coffee roasting and all of that. It's just, if you're not able to sell the coffee, or if you're in a place where being able to get the coffee to you is not a possibility, all these different scenarios has kind of broken down the supply chain, where a lot of farmers weren't able to sell some of the coffee, or there was some logistically problems. And so for us to be able to buy all the coffee we did last year was, again, for me, like a personal, just like
So what? Speaking of that,
Yeah.
what area is it that you guys are working with these farmers?
Yeah, no. We are, so coffee is kind of seasonal, so it depends on like where we're getting it from, or where in the year it's being picked and we're getting it from. But right now we have been sourcing our coffees from Central America, predominantly Honduras, Brazil, and Peru, and Colombia.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we've been working with some really cool exporters in Peru and Colombia, who have like very specific different regions of farmers that they work with. And then and similarly in Honduras, we've been working with a really cool, this guy named Ben Hameen. He's kind of it's funny, like in the music world, there's like those just really cool people who everybody kind of knows, and they're like, yeah, it's similar in the coffee world. And so one of the really just cool people doing great things in Honduras is this guy named Ben Hameen, and he's a younger guy like us. And I think sometimes when people think of coffee farmers, they think kind of like the old guy on I don't know, on a donkey.
Right.
Like your classic,
Awesome.
how America paints a coffee farmer.
I want to be an old guy on a donkey.
Yeah, that's where I'm working towards. But really, the farmers and producers we work with, a lot of them are this next generation of coffee farmers who are like fourth generation, fifth generation farmers who are really trying to develop kind of this and they're on Instagram and they're on WhatsApp and they're like, what's up? And so it's been cool to just very vividly kind of see the things that are happening at origin. So yeah, those are kind of the predominant areas.
I just think that's awesome because, the places where this stuff is being, farmed and everything, you talked about how you guys are giving into them more than more than $1 a pound. I mean,
Sure.
that impact on that community, because like wherever they're at, the community works there. So you're not just helping the one guy or the one family; you're actually helping an entire community.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
So I don't know that I love hearing stories like that, because when you can put together from what I'm drinking in my cup of coffee is more than
Yes.
just what I bought at Kroger. I'm actually doing more than that. My money's going to help
And the
awesome
homeless
people.
shelters in Chicago.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm helping a
That's
homeless
huge.
shelter. I'm helping the company. I'm helping farmers in
You're
1, 2,
you're
3,
helping-
4 countries.
you're helping everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody's coffee. Everybody means everybody
Yeah.
means everybody means everybody means everybody.
There you go, and it all works.
So Everybody's Coffee was featured in a Netflix original show episode. Mark
yes.
Maron, is that his name? The comedian? The show called
one of the-
Easy, right?
Easy, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're
Sorry,
fine.
that's the name of this podcast. Me interrupting you, but yeah. And Mark Maron is like one of the most like prolific podcasters. He has the FTW podcast. If you guys haven't listened to it,
Yeah, I did know that.
it's freaking. He's like one of the like demigods in podcasting. People are
I
like,
haven't heard it. I kind of have. He has like this clip show that I've seen on YouTube where he does. I haven't heard his whole podcast, but he puts clips together or whatever, kind of like Joe Rogan does,
Yep.
But if I remember correctly, wasn't Carl Sullivan was the barista in the episode?
He
right?
was. So one of our other founders, his name's Carl Sullivan. He's a little older than me, and he's got a big beard. He kind of has that Gandalf look. If you're looking for like,
Yes,
he does 100%. But yeah, so we got approached by Netflix to be in the show, and actually they were so cool, man. They bought us out, so they bought the whole shop out to do this, and so I took the whole staff on a field trip. We all went and had like a great lunch together and like did like an outing.
What does it mean to buy you out? They like rent it for?
Yeah, they rent it for like hours.
No way.
And because they eat and drink our stuff too, they let us know like what they wanted so that we could have it available so they could use it in the shots and stuff.
So Carl was the only person there that was working?
Yeah, they asked us to have somebody stay behind. So they asked us to have somebody stay behind just to serve, like, because my thought was like, dude, me and Carl were talking about. I was like, dude, serve the whole crew. I don't care, everybody, serve them coffee. Really, just like hospitality is our business, so we want to make sure everybody feels welcomed. And so even when we're doing a Netflix thing, and so we baked a bunch of stuff, not even to like put to display, but just to have like, hey, you guys want cookies, anything, biscuits? And so the plan was Carl was just going to stay behind and be kind of the liaison, make sure that they were all taken care of. And if they like wanted to fake turn something on, we could like be like, all right, just push that button right there. And
so were they going to have an actor be the barista?
Yeah, that was the plan. And then I don't know, something changed like literally as like all our staff was there, because we were open that morning and then they were going to take over for the rest of the day till evening. And so I brought all our staff in to meet, and then we were all going to like go. I think we went to the beach first, and then we went, our friends who own a restaurant, they did a full menu for us, like our whole staff. And like specifically it was just like a fun, I wanted to be kind of a team building thing. So I was like, perfect, 1-on-1, like we can shut the shop. Cause we're a 7-day business. So 7 days a week, like I'm going to say 300, and we're only closed 8 days out of the year.
Wow.
Yeah. And we're open like 14 hours a day. Like we're open from 7, at that point, we're open 7 in the morning to 7 at night. And then like an hour ahead, an hour over, like it takes us an hour to open, hour to close. Yeah. So you have 14 crazy. Hours a day, 7 days a week on site. It's a lot of crossover, a lot of staff. Yeah. And so for us to all be able to get to do something together is not usual.
So I don't mean to cut you off, but how did Carl get into this?
Okay, man. So Carl was literally so Carl was literally just going to be there to like oversee, and he had like taken the bullet. Like he didn't get to go on the fun outing. So we were all like feeling bad for Carl. But so funny, Carl, again, he doesn't.
But now he's a star.
He is. So he doesn't play like by any like rules of like, he's his own man. You know what I'm saying? And so he showed up in cargo shorts and a neon green or neon orange shirt, because he's, this is a background guy.
Yeah. And
as I'm leaving, the director stops me, because they knew both of us were kind of the dudes. He's like, listen, man, we're going to need a barista. We want somebody to serve drinks. I was like, okay, well, I can't, because I had like put together the outing. So I was like, I can't be that guy. I was like, but our other founder can. He's like, okay, cool. And so then Carl walked up in his neon orange shirt and his cargo shorts. And he's like, he's going to need to go to wardrobe right away. That's
amazing.
So they put him in like a cool thing. And
wasn't he wearing like a checkered shirt or something? Not like checkered, but like a flannel.
You can go see the great outfit. And I think it's the first or second season of Easy with Mark Maron. And but even on top of that, I guess after we all left, and I guess Carl, they were like, hey, actually, we want you to interact and like talk and stuff with the actors. And so, we're going to have you sign all this stuff. So you're actually now you're a SAG. You're like, he's on like the Screen Actor Guild. Like he has an IMDb page now.
Nice. Look at that.
He thought he
Because
was getting the shaft. He thought he was staying behind and serving,
That's
and
right.
now he's an actor.
now he's got a card. He has like he has a SAG card, and he has an IMDb page. And so shout out if you want to go to Carl Sullivan IMDb. It's like the one credit is Carl Sullivan on Easy. You can leave a review, and
It's
then
amazing.
and he gets like royalties. He'll like show me his little Netflix check that he gets.
No way.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
I know. And I'm like, dude,
Hey, speaking of royalties, we need to take a minute and applaud Mick Cox for getting his first Zayo royalties ever.
oh, dude,
Oh yeah, that happened
Yeah.
last month. Yeah. Pretty
just
sweet.
that's
put out-
awesome.
They put out Preface, and
Okay.
those were Splintered Shards, and those are songs that he wrote back in the day, and he'd never seen royalties from them, and they sent them royalty checks. And speaking of Preface, we're going to be giving away a vinyl and a cassette in your gift baskets, everybody's coffee gift baskets.
Dude, that's so full circle. So Zayo is going with these boxes.
Yeah, man.
Oh yeah.
Dude, I've got so many like well,
Oh yeah, don't you have a
Zayo's
Zayo
played it.
story?
yeah, well, there's a
Let's hear
couple.
it.
I mean, so, Parade of Chaos I feel like is like a soundtrack to a part of like 3 a.m. skateboarding in South Texas. If I'm awake at 3 a.m. in South Texas, a Parade of Chaos just starts playing in my mind. That was like
Is that the one with the dude with the suit and his face was like burned out?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That was that one?
Yeah.
I remember
And
that one.
Splinter Shards, that's like, I mean, all of those albums.
The best one. It's the best one, man.
That is the best one. Hey, if I could, another shout out that's not gonna probably go anywhere, but this guy named Alfredo Rosales, we grew up together. He was the biggest Zayo fan, and so
Nice.
so you can correct me. So you used to lead sing, right, in Zayo?
No, I was the
There-
bass player.
He's
you're the
the
bass
original
player.
bass player who
Original
helped
bass
start
player.
the band.
Yeah.
Original bass player, and
Who
then
started it, yeah.
who is the original singer?
That would be Eric Reeder.
Well,
Eric-
and then who?
And then
And then
Sean
who?
Jonas. And then Sean Jonas.
You
Yeah.
might not know who Eric Reeder was because Eric Reeder was never on a album. He was on like the demo stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. My buddy Alfredo would tell me these things and be like, Eric was he was the like a ride or die forever. So if he ever hears this podcast or knows that I got to be in just a conversation with him, man, he's probably going to be like, what happened?
That's cool.
And he's like an accountant now. So that'd be great. That'd be awesome. No, but yeah, so Zayo is predominantly because of Alfredo. He brought us like from like the early song. He would like just bring, and he's originally from Monterrey, Mexico, and so he was a fan there. Like, so just to
Oh,
give
wow.
you some,
Look at that.
some reach on that one. So that's how I heard of Zayo, and then all the like the I called it Nameless, but it's self-titled. The self-titled album. I would call it Nameless, and they would all make fun of me. I'd be like, yeah, where's that Nameless album? Because I remember when that came out, and they're like, you mean self-titled? I was like, okay. So all
Which
yeah.
one, Mick, which one was the self-titled? What did that cover look like?
I don't remember what the self-title cover looked like.
I think
at
it just
all.
was like a Zayo. It said
Yeah.
Zayo.
Yeah, it was just a plain, it
I
was just a
hope so.
plain one. I know that.
It had the band name on it.
I think I'll be honest with you. I think by that time, that's a few albums after me. But I, just knowing and connecting Jesse, I would say by that time he was just kind of done with Solid State and was ready to move on. So
Sure.
I think he's like, oh yeah, what's the next album? Going, oh, how about self-titled?
Self-titled.
How about No Name?
Yeah,
ST.
yeah.
So
Hey, I got a quick story real quick that I want to, it has nothing to do with hardcore, but it has to do with Rich.
Oh, man.
So do you remember when, I forgot the name of the guy. He, like older people kind of like in their 50s and 60s would know him, or mid 50s. Steven Taylor? Steve Taylor? Christian singer? You don't know what I'm talking about?
I know who you're talking about.
Okay,
don't
well,
know either.
Steve Taylor, is that his name?
Yeah.
So
I didn't know who he was either. So Rich is like, he's gonna know
Sorry,
the
man.
story once I get into it. But
Okay.
so
okay.
Mark is like, hey, Steven Taylor, whatever, is playing a show over at our church. We need people to help set up, and you play drums and you help with drums. Could you help set up the drum set? And I'm like, okay, I don't know who this dude is. So anyways, I show up and the coffee shop is connected kind of. So Rich comes out and freaking Peter Fuller of Newsboys is setting up the drum set. And I'm like, holy shit, this is Peter Fuller from the Newsboys.
Yeah.
And Rich comes out and basically the same thing. Holy shit, this is Peter Fuller from the Newsboys. And Mark, our boss, is cracking up because he sees these two like punk rock dudes losing their shit over Peter Fuller of the Newsboys. He's like, that's so weird. And he's the drummer of this band. It was weird.
It was so weird because he was like because he's like usually the lead guy, you know?
Yeah.
And there he is like playing, he's just like in the back trying to play it real cool. And I was like, dude, come on, Entertaining Angels, bro. You gotta like step it up. Step up to the microphone, man.
Well, I'm going to get real old school because I remember when he was just the straight up drummer for the Newsboys before we had the original singer.
That's right, yeah.
There used to be a festival in Kentucky called Igthus, and the Newsboys always played there. Oh, at is it Berea? No, is it Berea? Is that the name of the college? It's off. I can't remember.
In Kentucky?
In Kentucky, or Malone. I can't remember which college it is.
So I'm a sound guy. So that was kind of, and that's what I did at the underground stage at Cornerstone. But because I was doing that, I went on a couple small tours and stuff. But I went out with the Flatfoot 56 guys, who are Chicago punk, and we played like all of those. So I went to Igthus. We played Creation. We played.
Was that when Cornerstone was still around?
Yeah. I just went on the circuit with them, and that was
probably pretty cool.
It was, it was definitely. I definitely had the full roadie vibe going. Like I never wore a shirt. I just wore like a jean vest. And at that time, I had like my full like rat dreadlock kind of, and like super hesh hair, long hair. I would just wear like sunglasses all the time. Which Flatfoot 56 is a very like super punk, very like. I don't Oi punk, right? I was like Wiley's gonna know better than me on the genres because I'm not as versed in that. But yeah, and then there's this like super like trash kind of hesh dude who would like load all the gear out, train hopper, and then like
he's
go
stealing
to
your gear. No, that's our
go to the front of exactly, and then go to the front of house and be like, all right, man, let's hear that pop on that snare, and so.
He's the roadie, the sound guy, and a homeless train hopper. That's crazy. That's crazy.
So by the time you got to Igthus, they probably had the several stage set up.
They did, yeah. And so we played one of the. I remember that was definitely one of those like, which you probably know this better than I. When you're touring, where it's just kind of a blur, and you just kind of get out of the van.
Yeah,
and it was like a midday show. Yeah, and I like walked around for a minute, and they had like I think they had like a half pipe or something small set up somewhere on like a concrete somewhere. And so I went to go look at that because I had my board with me, and they were like BMXers, and I was like, nah, I can't. I don't want to like get pegged in the shins. So I was like, and I'm like, out of it. So, and then we just went back and we played the show at like, I think it was like a 4 p.m. show or something, something midday, and then got back in the van and drove some more, which bigger, right? Whatever that Sprinter thing was.
When the time I met the Newsboys at Igthus was on some back road, because at this time it was still downtown, and whatever city this was, it was still downtown. It was still like the vendors were still set up on the street, and we were just out messing around. We didn't play. We just showed up at Igthus.
What year was it?
This had to be 93. I was still in high school, and just walking around, and these dudes they weren't motorcycles, they were like this weird scooter thing, and they just rode up around us and start talking to us in these Australian accents, and I'm like, who are these guys? And the next thing I know, it's the Newsboys.
It's the Newsboys.
We're like, what? And so we ended up we gave them a demo tape.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they put it in there like Zayo.
Yeah.
What the hell is this?
No way. What if somehow secretly that like inspired them on their next album? You just don't know. Like they're like, those Zayo guys. Really
I'm gonna go with no.
I seriously doubt it because that first demo sucked. So
Oh, man.
Plus, in '93, no one really knew who the Newsboys was in America, right?
Well, it'd have been what
They didn't come out with "Take Me to Your Leader" yet, right?
no. I think
It was like '96.
the big album for them, I think, was "Hell Was for Wimps," and that was like one or two.
Yeah,
Like
and I didn't even know that album really
Yeah.
until later.
Yeah, I only knew that because at that time in '93 and '94, the church that we all hung out with had a radio station, and that's when I first dabbled in doing DJ stuff. And so I'd show up on certain nights and help them with CDs or whatever. And then like it was after I left the band is when I started DJing for them. So that was fun times back then. So I kind of knew all that back in the day. Like it was mostly contemporary stuff, and then on Friday and Saturday nights they did the heavier stuff.
Heavier.
And so they
Air quotes, right?
Yes, right. So you had the Newsboys. They did play Bride. I don't know if
Oh
you
wait,
remember.
Newsboys
Bride.
was the heavy air quotes.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Newsboys, and then
That's-
then you
not
got
heavy.
a little reckless with Bride.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Played some Bride and some Angelica. Throwing out some old school
Holy
Dude,
cow,
you
those
Christian
are
metal.
super old. That's dad metal.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Oh yeah.
Grandpa metal?
Grandpa metal at this point.
I wish my brain worked as well. I used to like have such a great catalog of like music in my mind. You know what I mean?
Now you got to
And
push
now
it away for coffee.
yeah, I had to make room somewhere. But
You're like useless music facts out, coffee
out.
facts.
Yeah,
in.
exactly. Weird dates, EPs dropped or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
gone. But yeah, I
Kids'
remember.
birthdays in.
Yep, 100%. The shot days to go get shots in
Yeah, exactly.
or whatever. Yeah, the thing was, we really what got me into, I think the music, like, because nowadays I forget sometimes. Nowadays, music is so easy to interact with. Like I can pull up like some crazy obscure
Sure.
bands on my phone like that. You know what I mean? And back in the day, I grew up in a small town in South Texas, so like we were like just any which way we could, we were trying, and the internet wasn't even a thing, so we were like calling like distros and stuff, and like just asking for like mixtapes or different things, EPs, stuff like that, and then like we had this like goth head shop, metal shop, whatever, and like it was an all of it shop. And
Yeah.
and my first job was at the skate shop. So like, since I was like 13 or 14, I worked at the skate shop in this it was like the only skate shop in South Texas for like 400 miles. There's just like, and we built our own ramps, and we make like kids pay money to skate the ramps and stuff. And we had no insurance. There was no policy. There was nothing. But we interacted because the head shop and the skate shop would like know. So that was where I would go and be like, dude, can you get this vinyl? And so I remember getting like Swedish hardcore and stuff like that from this really weird goth dude who I'm sure had like crazy seances late at night. Like he was like really into it.
Those
He'd
are
be
the
like,
best
dude,
goth dudes.
he was like you can actually like drink this amount of blood
Before
throughout
you
the
get
day
sick.
and stuff. Yeah, and stuff like that. And like all right, man. And yeah, but he would be like, yeah, man, I got this Rice Stite album, and I think you're gonna dig it. It's this Swedish hardcore band. I just threw it in, and so I forget I forget personally that like interaction with music and how I interacted with music, because now I just pull it up on my phone, or if I can't think of a band, or if like I'm trying to remember the like All Else Failed album from Zayo, I just like Google it, and then I'm like, oh yeah, that's
right.
it.
No, that's a good point, because so now you don't really need a record label to make music, right? But now everything's oversaturated.
Yeah.
So it's like all these bands can come up and come out now because they don't really need a record label, but there's just so much out there that it's hard to even figure out where to start.
Well, with you guys really still interacting with the hardcore scene and music and still playing music, like, do you see do you still see live music? Like, do you still see bands coming up the way I think we used to see? Or do you feel like, because I'm
What do you
so
mean by that?
disconnected. Yeah. I'm so disconnected. I sometimes feel like, again, I used to tour and I used to do sound and I used to work at a venue.
Yeah.
Now I feel like, oh man, there is no, like, there aren't really any shows, or there is no like that scene is kind of gone. And I don't know if that's real or if it's morphed and it like lives somewhere else. And I have no idea where that is.
Well, I guess I know you're not talking about right now in this exact moment because there's nothing
No.
really going on because of COVID, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's dead. I think it's just different. I think
Yeah, where is it? That's really my question. Like, okay, so put away pandemic and all that, but I'm like,
Yeah.
where? Because that again, and I just because I don't think I'm in it at all, so I just don't see it. Like, I'm like, what? Where is
Right.
it? Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna say something that I haven't really told many people, especially not publicly, but it's tough because I'm gonna be 40 in March, and it's like all the shows that are going on. We played at skate shops, we played at bars, we played at clubs, we've played at festivals, and I don't know, man. It takes a lot out of me. Like last year, we did like a mini tour. We went to New York, we went to Boston, went to Connecticut, and we started in Chicago and a Philadelphia date, I think. And dude, in between those shows, like, because I don't drink or party or do any of that stuff, and all the other bandmates were in the hotel rooms, like drinking and hanging out. They're like, "Yeah, come hang out, woo, party!" And I'm like, "Nah, man, I'm taking a shower and go to bed." Like, it hits me hard, man. And in January we played the show that Quinn, Quinn,
Yeah.
because she's in the band that I play drums in, What's Your Damage. She sings.
Okay.
And she booked this show at a skate park also, and
Nice.
it was packed. It was full. She did a great job in promoting it, and dude, people loved it. They were going crazy. Tons of people. We did a music video there. And the next day, I was just like, I felt like I had a hangover and I didn't even drink.
Yeah.
I'm too old. My head was ringing. Like, so to be honest, and this isn't going to be a popular thing to say, but the pandemic kind of slowing all that down was actually kind of a relief for me. Like, I'm like, oh man, I love doing music. I love making music. I love recording. I don't know how much longer I have the show game in me. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So
No,
it's still alive. It's just a young man's game.
Yeah, I agree. And it is. And I think there's a part of me that would love, like, I played in a couple bands, especially in South Texas, like, as you guys, like, you're a small town, everybody plays in everybody else's band at some point. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so, because so-and-so is like fighting with so-and-so, and so they kick that person out, and then they're like, well, you're playing before us, you don't want to play with us, or
Yeah.
So,
Or you only have one good drummer in your crew, so he's in every band.
yeah, that I was not that good of a drummer, so I
Hey,
did
you
not
play drums in church and you did really well.
Thank you, man. It was weird because I literally never have played
That kind of drums?
that style music ever in my whole life. I mean, I always played punk music or hardcore music, and I wasn't really a ton into hardcore. Like, I remember getting like this dude who was all about it. He like had a second Pearl double pedal, and he was like, "Dude, you can have this and then play in our band." And so I still have that. I still have that double pedal. But like, that was my introduction of like, okay, I got to learn how to like play with the double, which I love it now. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, so I never played, and then I didn't play for like 10 years, and even
That'll
more
do it.
actually, probably 12 years. And then my wife really got into the church world, and so then their like drummer pieced out, and so then I came in as just like
Who was their drummer?
this guy. They had two drummers actually, and one of them could only do it intermittently, and then the other guy was not. He lived in the city, and then I think moved away or something. But here's something too. I know I've referenced a lot of Christian stuff. I wouldn't really call myself a Christian, and I don't really go to church.
Okay, hold on.
Sure,
You live in a
That's right.
Christian community,
that's correct.
but you don't call yourself a Christian?
That's correct.
Is
really
it?
want me-
Yeah, I do
Okay.
want you to get into it. Can
Oh,
I
yeah,
ask a
I mean, I'll do
question?
it quick. Yeah, go
Can I
for it.
ask a question real quick?
Sure.
No, man, this podcast is all about life. So
Okay.
it's called Coffee and Hardcore, but we talk about things in between it too. So
You can edit all this out, Mick, for reals, man.
no, this is interesting.
Okay.
Is it because of the kind of the social climate that we're in?
No, this happened a few years ago.
Okay.
I play it real chill. No, I mean, it doesn't help. I think our social climate's not super grateful, but I think on a personal level, I think as I started going back to, because my dad literally grew up in a hut in the Amazon, in South, like I went and saw the hut itself that my dad was born into, and like youngest of 10. So they were like a little mini, and they all, like, I would say 6 of them still live in that village.
So were you
And,
born in Texas?
I was born in South Texas. Yeah. My dad, to live the American dream, he was the youngest, so he got to go to college in Uruguay, and then he. Sorry, I'm going to give you a real quick backstory.
You're
too
fine.
much here, but yeah, he went to college in Uruguay, and then got an opportunity to live with my aunt, who was in Texas at that time, and she had married an American soldier, that she had met in South America, and so they lived in South Texas, and then my dad came to live with her, and then met my mom at a running track, and the rest is history. I now live,
Running track?
Yeah, like,
Man, you just drop like these really cool things and then you're like, moving on.
well, I mean, like, South Texas, man, where are you gonna meet people? It's like the bar, the running track, or the barbecue joint, which also is the bar. So you're kind of,
Okay,
you've circled back
So
around.
what's a running track then? I'm thinking like a track that you run on.
It is,
Yeah,
yeah.
That's it.
So
Okay.
the one, as you might know, the big thing in Texas is high school football. It's massive. It's like do or die. So my town was one of those towns that shut down on Friday night. It was all about the team. And so to do that, they have like one of the largest structures in my hometown. Not anymore. They've grown, but when growing up, one of the largest structures in my hometown was the football stadium. It was concrete. It was like a dome, like a real.
Oh,
They put a lot of money on that thing.
that's crazy, man.
But because it was so massive, they had multiple running tracks in the kind of the fields around this big concrete dome in rural Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And so the running track is like where people would like
So it was open to
congregate.
public.
Yeah, they were open to
That's
the public,
cool.
and that's where like people would play soccer or they'd go run. And
That's
so
cool.
my dad played soccer in the middle of the running track, and then my mom would go after work and run around the running track.
Oh,
Yeah, and so
piecing that together. That's
There you
pretty
go.
cool, though.
yeah,
That's
was-
better than a bar story.
It is. My mom's always been she's not a big bar goer. So I think that was also a part of that, where my dad he's all over the place. I don't know where he is, but on that scene. Anyways, I guess to get to what I was saying about like rural, so going into South America and really reconnecting, I think, with my family and my roots and stuff like that. I just started to kind of unpack what the church had done to my family. You guys ever see a movie called The Mission?
Mm,
That's the
about
Warren. That's the Warreni Indians. That's I'm half Warreni, so that's
no, I haven't seen that.
yeah. Go check it out. It's kind of
I
a
will.
sad movie,
It is.
but it's essentially about the Spaniards destroying indigenous culture, and kind of enslaving a little bit. But yeah, man, I'm trying not to bring this podcast down. But anyways, that's
No.
No, it's all good.
Okay,
It's all good.
Okay.
this stuff is more important, I feel like,
Okay.
than some of the other
but-
stuff we talk about. I think the real life stuff's important, man.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. But I mean, really, and to keep coffee a part of it, really what really led me to being willing to start reconnecting was the idea of like, oh, I can go visit my family, and then I can also make that a part of my life and my business, and it kind of would make sense. I'm just personally not that like vacation kind of guy, like, oh, I'm going to just go vacation. So if I have a purpose for things, then I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely going to do it. And so
Yeah, for
this is
sure.
like a very but as I reconnected with my family, I kind of really started to kind of unpack the Judeo-Christian thing. And so then through the help of like I was talking with these different kind of like spiritual director people, like their whole thing is about God, and I think helping people find God, which is funny because for me it went the opposite direction. It kind of helped me figure out like I don't know if I would call God in my life Jesus or those things. And so then again, you feel free to cut any of this out, but
You're fine, man.
I think this is important because I think other people think about this and struggle with this stuff too. So
Right.
For sure. And so, so I found myself kind of the way I've kind of started to describe it as pushing on these like trap doors a little bit that I just kind of called walls and floor that I stood on, be my like spiritual beliefs or whatever, or these traditions that I grew up in. And then I kind of started kind of pushing on them. And it's tough because you don't want to push on them because you're then like, oh, this is soft. There's not much under here. And then the more you push, then you're like, dude, I gotta, like, you ever have that little hole in the wall and you're like, better not mess with that thing because it's going to become a big hole because it's not, there's nothing there. And so
just put an MC Hammer poster over it.
Yeah, exactly. Over it. Or a coffee origins poster. No, So that was essentially kind of what ended up happening. I think I started kind of pushing on these beliefs that I grew up in. And then I kind of started realizing like, oh, these are like just traditions that I called my own. And then I really, and gratefully I had, it took me like a year to even say that out loud to this like spiritual director dude. And I think I was like ready for him to be like, dude, I'm blowing it. I'm going the wrong direction here, you know? But he was really, it was cool. He was really like, you should, keep saying these things. If it's real, really just, or if these are truths in your life, you need to really start thinking about them. And so then the next part of that was then kind of starting to talk with my wife, which both of us, we, met at a Christian community. We, got married at part of this Christian community. So I would say religion and Christianity is a big part of our foundation. And so I never imagined that would be the turn of our relationship. And I don't think she was expecting one point in her life that all of a sudden her life partner would be like, hey, that thing we like talk about, that's not a part of me anymore. So really it's been cool. She's been really amazing at like, I feel like religion or different things, finding labels is a thing. We always joke about it now, but it's called like, they have a term for it. It's called like mixed faith marriages. This is like a term now. Which makes sure. And so
there's terms for everything, right?
There is, yes. They find terms for everything. So she kindly so we started as a couple trying to kind of figure that out. And then the bigger one is the business that I run is a part of is connected to a church and connected to a community, a Christian community. And so I sat with my kind of board, the team that I kind of answer to, and kind of let them know like where I'm at. And I was fully ready for them to be like, dude, well, this, Jesus people is the part of our name. So you can, but thankfully, my team, I think, really asked some really great questions about like, well, what are your core beliefs? Like, what are your real, like, then what do you believe? And really the core things never change. I believe really in truth and kindness and the ability to for us to impact each other in positive ways, really to encourage each other, build each other up. And again, we're human, and so we have innately just shitty things about us, but like there is a truth and a good in that. And so that was about 2 years ago when I met with my team and started talking to them about that. And so then I think my journey kind of went in a different direction, but it's been kind of fun to still stay engaged in, like, that was even before I started playing drums at the church. So then I started playing drums at a church after that, which is kind of funny because I sat with their pastor and I was like, listen, man, I wouldn't mind playing drums, but just say, this is kind of where I'm at. And he was very cool about it. And that was super, it was nice because
as he should be, right?
As he should be, yeah.
Because you're still a person.
100%. And it's just funny what religion does, I think, in some places. And really what a big goal for me has been, because I've met a lot of people who've kind of come out of a church scenario different. They just a lot of anger or jadedness, rightfully so, or a lot of pain. And not to say that those aren't things that I've experienced in my life, but I'm really trying to choose to use that as energy to create positive and momentum to change and good things. Because inherently there's some truth in all these things that we're doing, because there are really great things that come out of it. And so the proof is kind of in the pudding there. And so I want to lean into that more. If there's ways that we can continue to positively impact each other, and apparently like we're able to do it cooperatively well, like in a community setting or in like a house of worship setting, those really have ways of uplifting these different communities, then that I'm for that. But if it's about oppressing other groups, or if it's about tearing each other down, or getting into some like weird semantic that you blow out the candle earlier than we do, so we're gonna fight you, I don't know.
Right.
then that makes no sense to me, and I can easily like just kind of part from that. But yeah, that has been kind of the space that I am now, and just recently. So for like me to be able to say it on a podcast publicly, just recently have I publicly been starting to say this. So like some of the bigger people or bigger organizations that we work with and stuff, I've been having maybe some like conversations with them where like it'll come up or something, and I'll be like, yeah, just so you know, this is kind of where I'm at as one of those people. So
I don't
yeah,
think
so
that should
thanks
ever
for
matter.
yeah.
I don't think your faith or what you believe in spiritually, I think that's a personal thing, to be honest. I think too many people make it public.
I agree. I think too, like when you put yourself in the business of that, like if you're putting yourself out there.
Religion is, it's the business of selling
If so, that's
God
right.
in any sort of sense of what God is.
Yep.
That's right.
And that's why religion is a terrible thing.
Well, and that's where I try to really communicate that, like, that's not my business. Like, and I think it's easy for people to be like, oh, you're a part of this community, or you're part of these things, so that's your business. And that's not our business. Our business is, like I was saying, to impact in these very positive and be really a part of our community of a whole. And so that I try to be very instinctual about saying those things out loud to people, because I think that's where it can get really quickly muddled, because people do. I meet a lot of people who treat religion like a business, and I've even said to some people, like, why don't you just like do business, like start a company or something, you know what I mean? You don't have to peddle something.
I was working with this guy, I won't say who he is, but it was a guy in a band, and I was helping produce his record, and softly produced, I would say. And he sent it to me. Really good music, super good. Mick knows what I'm talking about. Lyrics were very, I don't know. I want to be nice. Very kind of gimmicky, Christian Reformed kind of stuff. And he asked, he was like, hey, I want your honest opinion on this music as a whole. And I was like, I don't know. I think the lyrics are just kind of gimmicky. And he's like, yeah, man, I know, but people eat this stuff up. They're gonna buy it. They're gonna. And I was like, oh. It's like, okay, well, there's the business aspect of it too, you know, like why you always got to ask yourself. And I'm not saying I've never done anything gimmicky, and I've never said, I'm not saying I'm perfect or anything like that, but
sure,
that's when you got to ask yourself, is this real, or is it a product that you're pushing?
And maybe that's where,
and it can be both.
It can. Well, in the aspect of business that I enjoy is like, I like being able to be like, dude, I'm pushing a product. Like, I want to be super clear about this specific, or vice versa. Like, I really mean this. Like, I really want to be a part about impacting these different communities. So it's two things, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I'd much rather have somebody be super upfront about like which I've enjoyed. I felt like in the hardcore scene, I would meet these guys as lead singers where they would be like, dude, the breakdown's coming. And like, they even like, they know they're about to hit it. Like, there wasn't any like, where did this come from? They're just like, now's the drop time. Like, now's the time. Like, we're going to put this right here because that's when we're just going to like slam it. And I always really enjoyed that a part of crafting this music and really expressing these lyrics that might be real, they would also add in like, listen, we're just going to say move, or we're going to say like, tear it down, or we're going to say
pick up change.
Yeah, exactly. Because we know this is where this is going to just get them hyped. And so, yeah, I like most things in life. I know it's a balance, but I just, yeah, I agree with you too, Wiley, that really needs to be this, it shouldn't matter. That is a personal thing. And it's as much as you want to kind of share and be and real about. And it also encourages me not to do the same. Like I really try to work on not doing that to others either, because I don't want to, just put which it's hard. I mean, as humans, I think we do that. We put each other in kind of these like preconceived thoughts or boxes, or like, oh yeah, I'll put you in. Yeah,
for sure.
That was the big thing for my wife and I in the last, it's been 8 years now, what we didn't have a term for it, and I don't really like terms, but we called it kind of like what you were talking about, running into these trap doors that you start pushing on, and you realize that they're not as sturdy as you think they are. Yeah. And so for like the last 8 years for us, it's been a whole deconstruction is the term that we would use.
100%.
So there's a whole lot of stuff that we both grew up kind of in the same denomination, so to speak, in some things. Sure. And I actually pastor a church, and I'm going through deconstruction. And so by the time we get to the place that we're at now, we've been at this church now for like, I think it's been 4 years, almost 5 years. And the cool thing about this scenario is through all these places, because there's a lot of church, let's say, hurt, abuse from past things, even in being in leadership and some of those things, experiencing it, seeing it, and then unwittingly maybe even taking part of it without knowing that that's what you're doing. And then now 100%. You're on the other side of it going, holy crap, like we were hurting people and not knowing that's not what you were doing at the time.
Yeah,
and so
especially
now,
the 90s.
Yeah, and so exactly, youth ministry in the 90s was brutal. I mean, it was
led by fear.
Yeah,
yeah.
So now being on the other side of that, and being with the people that we're with now, like it's kind of like everybody's gone through that. Like we're all deconstructing in some way or the other. And so, like when you said the thing about not being able to call yourself a Christian and seeing things through a spiritual lens now, that's kind of like I keep finding that's where a lot of folks are.
Yeah, I've heard that a couple of days ago. Someone said that when we were talking. They're like, I don't consider myself a Christian anymore. I'm like, To me, that's weird because I know it's a label, but to me personally, it means follower of Christ, and I'll always be a follower of Christ. It doesn't mean I'm going to live up to these false rules that people put on us, but I don't know.
No.
Like, if you don't believe anymore, that's one thing. But if you're an actual believer and you're like, no, I'm not going to call myself Christian because there's all this bullshit that people do that call themselves Christians. Like, bring that shit back. Like, own it. Bring it back. Don't just run away from it,
Well,
Mick's laughing at me.
I am. Well, the only reason why is because I see that, and I'm like 100% down with that. But on the other side of it, I see this other thing that has been developed, especially in the States, and what's called that, and then what we have done from the States to other countries. I like because I have friends in Africa who have worked with denominations and things that I've been a part of, and now you're still having those relationships and hearing from them and talking with them, and I work on some of their websites and help them out, and just the pain and the hurt that we did from here to them, like we really taught them about being rich and not really what they needed. And so
we tried. Sorry. No, we tried to conform them to whatever belief we thought it should look like, or whatever. We try to essentially take what we categorize as whatever and try to put that on them. Yeah.
Let's just I'm gonna bounce one more question at you. What future plans does Everybody's Coffee have for Chicago and the world?
Dude, great question. I mean, I think Everybody's Coffee, we started very humbly and organically. We started out of a skateboard shop and a cafe, and we just kind of took the next best step and grew. And so, like I was saying earlier, we added the bakery and our breakfast and lunch, and then now our roasting coffee and sourcing coffee, and doing our online coffee sales and subscriptions. I think that's where we're really trying to rock it, man. Because I feel like our next iteration is really just sourcing, so investing with great producers and farmers at origin, and then just finding creative ways to like get that coffee out to the masses, to get to try our coffee and kind of we do different roast profiles. So we've got like our nice kind of medium roast blends and our dark roast, which I know both you guys got kind of the reverse, right? So Mick, you got
Yes.
the dark roast, right?
He likes dark. I like medium.
Yep.
Yeah. So not a lot of, I mean, sorry, I don't want to say big statements, but I know sometimes roasters are more like, oh, we're just kind of more of a dark roast crew, or we're more of a light roast crew, and we don't. But being everybody's coffee, we want to try to create different options and kind of coffees that connect with everybody.
It's in your name. You got to cater to everybody.
Yeah. So I think that's our goal for this next foreseeable future, is really to kind of grow our online presence of like being able to, because we can ship coffee all over the nation, and really our subscription thing has been a lot of fun. So we have like a coffee subscription model where you can sign up to get a bag of coffee every month, or every other week, or even every week. And you can get up to like our 5-pound bags of coffee if you're like really going through it. So that's been a lot of fun. We rolled that out this year, was the subscription. We really haven't put a lot of like, hey, go get subscriptions. We just like rolled it out, and it has really connected well. And we have a lot of like now kind of loyal customers who just get our coffee every month. And we're like shipping it all over the US. So I think that would be a lot of fun to really be able to kind of connect more nationally, to just directly to the coffee person who's enjoying that coffee, to kind of be able to kind of do that more. Because we've always been a cafe, so we really, like with our coffee, are investing directly back into our community, our neighborhood. And so now I think we're exploring what that would look like to do that more to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I heard that your secret ingredient in your coffee is, instead of using water, you use crystal clear Pepsi. Is that true?
No.
All right. On that note, we got to say bye to you.
No, thanks, man. And I, again, make this a fun way to meet somebody, especially somebody who I've like known their name for a very long time and read it in a liner, on a vinyl. And so it's a funny, and also too, like, Glenn, to like, I know we see each other often, but it doesn't go, because we're both doing other stuff. So it's cool to have, it's like where you get to like talk more to the person, your neighbor, literally. And so that's cool.
Yeah, because we usually, hey, what's up? How you doing? Good to see you.
Yeah.
He's doing his coffee. I'm working at Lakefront and doing t-shirts and.
Well, and shout out, thanks for. I love that our roasters in your intro or whatever. You showed me that clip.
Yeah. In the promo to push the podcast. Yeah. Thanks for letting us do that.
Oh yeah.
Appreciate it.
We just want 5%, man. I'm just kidding.
5% of nothing is what?
I can't wait till we get that check. Well, thanks again for letting me go probably past, I know, the time that you guys allotted. So
it's all good, man.
All right, brother.
All right, thank you,
awesome,
guys.
man.
I'm gonna jump off.
All right.
All right, see you.
Cool. No doubt.
All right, so we got this month's album reviews. I picked these 3 and I sent them to Wiley. He's been listening to them, so we're gonna run through them. Got some good stuff this week. So first this month, right? So here's the first one. It's the band Drain from Santa Cruz, California, with their LP California Cursed. So what'd you think about it?
Well, I like this album, California Curse. This is 10 songs that was released in April of this year, 2020.
Yeah.
And it was crazy when this album was released because vocally, the vocalist of Drain kind of sounds like he's inspired by Walter of Rotting Out.
Okay.
And that's why I say this is because Rotting Out and Drain, both California hardcore bands, both released their new album on the exact same day. Not just the same month, the same day.
Wow.
April 10th, 2020, both of them released their new albums. For some reason, that's weird to me and awesome all in one. And I guess that was a big day for good California hardcore.
Right.
I think they sound like what they remind me of. The drums and the guitar tone reminds me of 80s California thrash metal. Like when that first guitar riff kicked in and it was just the tone, it reminded me of Exodus and Testament and what's the other one? Death Angel. Those three, it kind of like totally reminded me of that. The vocalist doesn't sound like that, but it was just the guitar tone and the fast riffs. And then the ride on the ride cymbal in a couple songs. Like I actually had to go and watch some video of them playing live because I wanted to see the drummer because I knew he was doing that old school like
Yeah,
like
really fast.
in the right symbol. But yeah, I totally dug this album. My favorite song is probably Army of One. That song kicks. I when I did go and look them up to watch them live, the singer looks like a frat boy.
Yeah. And I kind of put that in my notes. In my notes, I didn't put that, but they have that California like surfer vibe, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like
yeah.
Drain most definitely had that California hardcore sound, fast, heavy, and technical guitars at times. That's what I put in my notes.
Yeah.
I also love that he starts the album out with a good bleh.
Yes.
Because I did that in the first 2-minute minor lockdown EP that came out in March.
I remember that, yeah.
Doing the blahs is a lot of fun. I want to do those more.
did it a bunch on this newest album, and they all got cut out by the band members. They're like, too much. But I love the energy that Drain brings to the listener. Super driving, hard hitting, fast, almost thrash, crossover, hardcore punk drums. That's what I put.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for those kind of drums. I love the name Drain. I wonder if it was a play on the hardcore band Bane.
Ooh.
Probably
Think
not,
of that.
but maybe. But the album art's phenomenal. I love all the colors they used. It looks very California surf, but it almost has like that stoner rock vibe to it.
Do you remember the it may be late 80s, early 90s, but all the old the rat kind of cartoons, like
like
the
Rat Fink?
Yes, that's kind of what it reminded me a little bit.
Yeah,
Maybe
okay.
I don't know.
Like it could be the background of a Rat Fink kind of cartoon.
Yes. Yeah, that's what totally. But no, I dug it quite a bit. Really got into it.
And I was telling you, I was like, when Revelation Records put this out, I really wanted to buy the hoodie and vinyl for the pre-order, but like I just could not get myself to buy the hoodie because it's just that California kind of frat boy kind of look, and I was like, oh no, I can't wear this.
Well, I guess they just put out a fanny pack.
Of course they did.
And it's pink and that bluish,
Yeah.
What's on the album? It's that
Like,
pink and
hipster hardcore California surfer.
Yep.
Not my thing. Yet I dig it. I am gonna buy it on. I dig the record. I am gonna buy it on vinyl eventually. I thought it was a good record. I think it's got some really hard hitting, awesome tracks. Great vocal performance, great drumming, like you said, like all on the wrist kind of.
Yep.
I couldn't pull the trigger on that hoodie. So I ended up getting the Rotting Out vinyl and hoodie instead.
All right, well let's go to
But Hypervigilance, I think, is my favorite track.
that's your favorite track on that one? Okay.
Yeah.
I dig that
drop
song.
you can drop whatever song you want right now.
So we got another California band, another Bay Area band. It's Discourage. Their album is Forlorn Hope, and they're on Patient Zero Records with Bitter Truth. We reviewed them a couple months ago.
just ordered their vinyl today because I've been doing their 7-inch. It's half yellow, half green.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I just
It
went
looks
on the
killer.
Patient Zero. They got some crazy good bands that I didn't even realize they had.
I know. I didn't even really. I have heard of Patient Zero, but I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention until the guys in Bitter Truth.
Mm-hmm.
They started recording for the new album with them, and so then I started checking out all this stuff, and I'm like, holy crap, there's some good stuff on here.
There is.
But I tell
This
you,
is only 4 tracks though.
I know.
So this is an EP.
But it makes you want more.
It does.
The bass tone for me is like Godzilla destroying Japan.
Oh man.
It's heavy and just the bass lines are just intense. Like I can't get enough. And I love it when, and I know this happens a lot in hardcore, especially this kind of style, but when everything kind of breaks down a little bit and the bass player gets to do his thing and they let him do his thing and then his tone is killer, I'm like, I'm sold. I'm a sucker for it. I love it.
Can I be honest?
You didn't like it?
No, I loved it.
Oh,
This was the one out of the 3 that you sent me that I hadn't heard because when Drain came out, I listened to that immediately. When we're talking Life Force, I bought that record right before you sent it to me, like a day before, and I was like, "That's crazy!" I just pre-ordered this record. No, I loved it. I'm so glad you introduced me to it. The honesty part was, you and I are kind of doing a straight edge project together.
Right.
It's not introduced yet. Maybe it will be in December.
Maybe.
But when I heard this bass tone in my head, I'm like, man, I really hope Mick hits us with this kind of driving fat tone.
Yeah, that's what I want. Like, anytime when I talk about recording stuff and doing stuff, and I tried that so much with To Live as Sons, but the style of music that was coming out at the time, it was more, I think we were calling it the whole 304 thing. So it kind of had a groove kind of to it.
Yeah.
So you couldn't really get that fast, like those bass runs that I wanted. And so, but with this, what we're working on, I totally want to get that bass drive.
Yeah, almost. I hope so.
Like the feeling of, and that's how I kind of qualify it is, I want it to sound like Godzilla destroying a city. That's what I want. I want it just to come in and wipe it out. And I tell you, this album, every single 4 tracks, every single one has that driving bass tone. Like if we were playing this stuff after we got doing a live stream today, my kids were in the room and I had it playing and they immediately were doing a circle pit. Like,
yeah, it's good stuff, man. I listened to it. I mean, I know it's only 4 tracks, but I had it on repeat when I was doing my notes and just listening to it.
Yeah.
I think I listened to it like 5 times,
Yeah.
Good
stuff.
But yeah, I didn't really know anything about them. And they're from Oakland, California, and they did a split with Time and Pressure, which is a great band.
Oh. I didn't know that. I got to check that out.
And I love how the song Control kicks in with the bass. That's in my notes too. Like, this is truly a badass band with a badass bass tone.
Yeah.
It's a group of musicians playing hardcore how it should be played. And I really wish this was more than 4 songs. See, some EPs are perfect 3 to 5 songs, and it makes you want more. But this is a band that could clearly put out a full length and hold my attention. and I can't wait for more music for them to drop. But
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of this. It's going to be added to my monthly playlist. Thank you so much for introducing him to me. I went and bought the record, so I blame you. But I regret nothing. So let's drop Control for them so they can hear that in early bass right now.
Awesome. So now we're on to the last one. We got Life Force with the title of their LP is Hope and Defiance. And this just came out, right?
Yeah.
And I thought their pre-orders...
September, yeah.
Yeah, September. But their pre-orders look cool. The vinyl that they were putting out looked awesome.
Yeah, I got the purple or the hot pink with purple splatter vinyl.
Oh, nice.
So excited.
But I was kind of stoked to find out that, because I didn't realize this, but Matt Fletcher from Shai-Hulud is one of the main guys in this band. He plays guitar. My connection with Shai-Hulud is that when the singer Chad is it? Can't remember his last name. He's the one that recorded the first EP for Shai-Hulud. Was on tour with them.
I was there when they met with the guys from New Age Records for the first time.
Okay.
We were at a library playing a show, and those guys showed up, who just so happens to be some of the guys from Unbroken, which made me extremely nervous because I love Unbroken.
Fanboy?
Yes. But Matt Fletcher wasn't in the band at that time, but Matt Fox was, who's still a good friend. But yeah, it was just cool to hear. I had followed Shai-Hulud for a while, and so to see him start this band was pretty cool. And I love it. It's Youth Crew. It's with
Dallas, Texas Youth Crew.
Yeah, Dallas, Texas Youth Crew with to me a little meatier vocal content, like lyric content. Like sometimes it gets a little dark. I'm like,
yeah,
we're leaning more on the Defiance side on this record, I think.
Well, and this was 8 tracks and clocking in at like 17 and a half minutes, I think.
Yeah.
It's like in and out, kicks you in the face.
Right.
When will there be
they're signed to New Age Records, which
Yeah, I know.
Decline's on New Age, and
Yep.
a bunch of other good bands are on New Age Records.
It's so crazy because we did Drain, that was Revelation Records, which was has had a ton of crazy stuff through the years, and New Age too. I mean, New Age has had a bunch of stuff, and it seems like now
They're a great label.
They're just both like putting out some crazy stuff lately. It's just good.
Another thing I learned is that Chris of Youth Energy did the album art for this release.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I dig the album artwork.
Yeah.
And I love anything with the word hope in it. So Hope and Defiance, man, that feels like it just kicks you in the face. It's good.
Yeah, this was a good record. I'm glad you picked this one because, like I said, I was pretty familiar already with this one and Drain, so it made this this album review a lot easier on me.
So
But
what's
they had oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, what song on this album do you like?
Milestones is my jam. I love that track. I really love the gang vocals a lot in it because I'm a sucker for high energy gang vocals and driving guitars.
Yeah.
And it's like the drums kind of provide like a fast track for the vocals. I dig the drum patterns on this one as well. The snare does like that syncopated roll thing, that fast part to the end where it's like a tom build up, to kind of like a perfect ending. It's just so much energy in the song, which is weird because it's like broken down parts. So it's not like super fast the whole time.
Right.
But it's still got tons of energy because of those gang vocals keep it. And I loved how they wrote this song.
Right. Now, my two favorite on this album is Out Front and then High Standard.
Okay.
Those two songs, man, totally dig them.
Yeah, I think Life Force has passionate, understandable, yelling vocals that I really dig. You can tell that the vocalist has kind of mastered his pronunciation in music, which for vocalists that can be especially hard, especially in heavier music.
Right.
I mean, look, I can barely talk. But I struggle with it at times during music too, because I, do heavier music, and I really like the Michigan hardcore band Brothers, which we've talked about before on this podcast.
Right.
Because the vocalist Joel Odie really enunciates clearly, and Life Force and Brothers vocals have similarities, and I really enjoy that very much. And I thought the music is a perfect soundtrack for the vocals to clearly speak their mind and use that platform to perfectly put in their perspective of how they feel and what they believe. So some good stuff, man.
Yeah, really good. So I picked 3 killer albums, right?
You did? No,
I did.
For real, you did.
Awesome.
Which is crazy because the Life Force and the Drain records, I was like, oh my gosh, those are my jams. I've been listening to them for the last few months. So that was perfect. And then you introduced me to what was that last band? Or Discourage.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I had never heard before. And so that blew my mind. And I was like, I'm buying this right now.
Awesome, because normally it's me who gets introduced to this all this stuff, and I finally got to introduce something. That's
Mhm.
awesome. Sweet.
I think a few back you introduced me to one too. Usually, because this is the second time you've picked,
Mhm.
and usually I know of at least two of the bands. And I think the last time you introduced me to a band as well, didn't you?
Was
What
it
were the
Burning-
three you picked last time?
Burning Strong,
Yeah.
Bitter Truth, and what was the second one?
Yeah, it was that one. It was the more like heavy band that I
Yeah,
loved.
I can't remember. That's
Come
horrible.
on.
Hold on, I can find out.
Let's see if I got this. Mind Force.
Mind Force.
Yeah, that was the
I
band
can't-
that I had never heard them before, and it blew me away.
I can't believe I forgot that because, dude, that
Swinging
was-
swords and chopping lords.
that's it.
Yeah, that's a good one, man.
Man, they just released that new single too, and it's killer.
Oh yeah, you sent it to me. It was so
Yeah.
good.
Oh,
I had that on repeat as well.
yeah.
Great song.
I can't wait till they release some more stuff. That's just too much.
They're a good band.
Like, yeah. Awesome.
Cool. I
There
think
we
that's
go.
it.
We've got to raise our standards. We need better, better than violent indifference. We've got to raise our standards. We can do better, better than heavy and ignorant. We've got to raise our standards. Higher standards, the fight of a generation is right outside. By your content, pushing evidence.
We got my friend Steven DeFalco, 8th year, season 6 of the Friskie Morris podcast he
Dang.
runs, Audio Tree Live. Works at a forest preserve, a drummer at Pink Hotel, possible new 2-Minute Minor drummer, giving it a go. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Married, he's a dog, dad, and previously Turbovamp's vocalist. Correct?
Yeah.
Is that all correct?
Yeah. That's all correct for now. As of
For
as
now.
of recording this, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I've heard a list of accomplishments or things going on by another person other than Wiley. Like, geez.
I think
What do you mean
see,
by that?
I think we're like akin spirits where I like to say that I have creative ADD where I like to stay busy and I feed off of that kind of adrenaline that stress gives me. Like I'm always the procrastinator to do things at the last minute because I need that boost. But I feel like Wiley and I will be like, oh yeah, we had a talk with our partner and it's like can't like do any more things. But wouldn't it be cool if we did this? Oh, and then we do this and this and this, and we like enable each other into these like grandioso like creative ideas that we're just like, oh yeah, we need to rein it in. We're gonna get in trouble. Like there's not enough hours in the day.
Well, Mick knows all about that.
Oh, yeah.
I get Mick into so much creative trouble. Just ask his wife.
Oh, yeah. But it always turns out good. So,
Yeah.
That's right. You put us two together, it's gonna turn out crazy at least. So what I kind of wanted to start this with is, so you were actually one of the main reasons I decided to start this podcast, and you know that's true because I called you
Yeah.
before starting this podcast and I asked for your professional and creative insight, and I think we actually had a few talks about it.
Yeah,
not
there was a
mistaken.
few conversations like after the first one dropped and like throughout it kind of just like, what did you think of this? I'm thinking about doing this, but yeah, I think like from the get-go you kind of knew what you wanted to get out of it. So you just needed a third party to kind of give you that extra push to be like, you already know what you want to do, like just do it.
Yeah. Well, it's weird though because podcasting seems so like out of the realm for me. Like it just seemed like it was not, I don't know. It was just something I don't think I would ever think about doing. And then I remember, I think October to Death was on Friskie Morris podcast first, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So October to Death was on, and then 2 Minute Minor came on later. And I just remember how it was just, you made it seem so seamless and practical and like down to earth, like anyone could do it. And yours was set up completely different than any podcast that I had kind of heard before, because you had musical guests on and you had them do 4 songs in the studio with Chris DeQuitt.
So we actually bounced around so many times throughout the 8 years of the podcast, because initially, because it all started with kind of songwriting for Turbo Vamps, and we were all in college, doing our own thing, and we weren't getting together as much. So as a songwriter, I had this batch of songs, and it was like, if I don't do anything with these songs, they're going to go in the garbage because I'm over analyzing everything. Like I've been able to sit on these for long enough. So I got all my buddies like in the Chicago scene to record the like solo album. And then from that came this idea of like a lot of my friends saying, I wish I could record here myself, but I don't have the money for that. So it was this idea that the podcast would also give up and coming bands the ability to record in an actual studio. And we always offered, if you pay for the like final mixing and mastering, which I think at the time was like $20 a song. So like for under $100, the bands that were on were getting like a professionally studio live 4-song EP. So kind of like offering that to bands was like the big thing. But we were at Multitrack, which was across from Fogo de Chao in River North. And that was where a lot of like Columbia kids did engineering classes. But there was this huge red room that I think it was so many random bands had played in the big room that half of it in the beginning was like touring the studio and being like, oh my gosh, Smashing Pumpkins were here. And like tons of other bands and performers. But then that whole building got bought out.
So we went in yen, right?
That was the fourth. Million Yen was the 4th studio. So it was Multitrack. Then we got kicked out of there, and our main engineer made a studio in his garage. So we called that Coach House Recording Studio.
Are you talking about Chris?
That was our buddy Mickey, who actually owned the studio that we were out of, Mickey Kraft, and he works for Sweetwater now in Fort Wayne. And then that was number 2. He couldn't do it anymore, and we actually Chris got offered a job with Atlas Studios, which is a big deal for Chicago bands. So we were in Atlas, and then Atlas got rented out, and then we were Million Yen. So four studios.
Is the Atlas one the one where Alkaline Trio recorded?
Yeah, that was like Lawrence Arms, Alkaline Trio, Downtown Struts.
So that was
Messengers did some stuff there. So yeah, that was a pretty big deal for us to be doing it out of Atlas. And I mean, it was a great crew that were kind of engineering out of there as well. So scheduling that place was amazing. And so was Million Yen when we were there too. Million Yen also has some like dynamite records coming out of that studio. So it was an honor to be part of that. Million Yen had, of course, I don't remember now. I'll find some and I'll.
That's fine.
I'll message them to you after.
Yeah, because I remember October we did your show at Atlas, and I went and looked at the records on the wall. I was like, no way.
Yeah.
Alkaline Trio. That's amazing. Yeah, and the Lawrence Arms record too. Yeah, that was crazy. And then I think 2 Minute Minor did it at Million Yen.
Yeah, that tracks.
So that was actually kind of cool, because it was cool to see you in those 2 different settings, And I think I liked the Million Yen one because that was the one where you walked up the stairs a little bit and you went into that room, right?
Yeah. It was kind of like in reverse, where like Atlas, you walked through the common area to get to the studio. and then Million Yen, you like walked through the studio to get to the common area.
Yeah, I liked how that one was set up for sure.
Yeah, Atlas was like traditional one big room, and Million Yen has a nice like separate vocal room, a couple like guitar bass rooms, and then kind of their big room. So in terms of tracking and like recording a full album, it's really nice how they kind of separate some of those rooms for the recordings. But we just did everything live, and
Yeah.
Sometimes bands were ready to go and of clear mind, and some, I think the nerves maybe got to them, or for whatever reason they just needed a couple more takes, but we got it all done. It ended up being good.
It happens to the best of us though.
Yeah, so then I mean, yeah, nowadays we don't do studios anymore, partly because of COVID, but partly because of the financials too. I mean,
because that was costing you were paying for all that, right?
Yeah, I was paying for engineering,
Just
for
like-
studio, for all that fun stuff.
Just like hoping the bands would be like, okay, I'll pay for the mixing and mastering.
Yeah,
That
because at
helps.
least like that covered Chris, so that I was only out the studio time, and I was doing like fundraising shows and shirt sales and doing some of that's kind of how some of the label stuff started too, was like anything I made off that was just going back to like help fund the podcast. So it was this kind of like cyclical financial thing. And at the end of the day, I was doing it because I still am doing it because I'm passionate about the bands and like getting these bands heard and everything. So nowadays it's a lot easier to just kind of do something. They have their best foot forward. We put pre-recorded tracks on it. So it's not kind of like if the vocalist is having a bad day, it's not like a bad reflection on them where they're going to have a shitty recording that day. But this way we kind of make sure that, everything's on the up and up and they're getting the highest quality music that represents them out there.
Yeah. Hey, can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
Mick's like, Actless Willis. No, when I listened to, let's see, what would it have been? It would have been season 6. What was that? Your first episode?
First episode was
the
Sweetie.
Duo. With the duo.
Sweetie.
Yeah. When I listened to that, see, here's the thing. When I knew the band, because you were Chicago based only when we're just talking about Friskie Morris.
Yeah.
Right? You only did Chicago bands. So I knew some of those bands. And so when I heard the live recordings, I was like, oh, this is cool. It's cool because I've seen some of those bands live before, but I've heard their records, So it was cool to hear it live. But what was this newest band you had on? Sweetie?
Sweetie. Like
Sweetie.
candy sweets.
Gotcha. Sweetie. So
Nice.
I thought it was really cool to hear their recorded tracks because it really got me into it. Like sometimes if you don't know the recorded version and you hear the live version, it can lose you sometimes. If that makes sense. Does that make
totally.
sense to you at all? Yeah.
And they could, tons of bands, I mean, they'll play a song live differently than they recorded it.
Right.
And, like I said, sometimes people are having good days, sometimes people are having bad days. And if they're not used to that environment and used to kind of the stress of like, oh no, this is going to be public forever. It's not like a live show where if I have a bad note, it's fine. We'll just laugh it off and play the next song.
Yeah.
So you had a lot of bands that were like super paranoid about that kind of stuff and wanting to do multiple takes. And Chris and I like consulting them being like, this is live. This is the format of the podcast. People are listening to this, understanding that it's live. It doesn't need to be perfect. The imperfectness is what makes this a unique, one-of-a-kind recording of the song you're doing. So
Right. Well, I thought that
there's a pro and con to kind of the live versus pre-recorded tracks for sure.
Right, because I thought that too. I thought that it was really neat that you're doing something different. At least to me, it was different. But when I heard your Sweetie interview and then with the music, I was like, I don't know. I think I kind of like this format.
Yeah.
Personally.
And it saves a lot of time, saves a lot of money, and still gets the like ethos of the podcast across. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing moving forward. And we're doing a whole restructure for season 6. introducing some new stuff, launching a Patreon, going to be some fun little tier gifts and nifty gifties and things like that. So excited to see launching a new version, a whole new podcast in 2021. So that's going to be exciting too. So
you're doing a whole new one.
Yeah. So traditionally, Friskie Morris Sessions was just like buds in Chicago. And then a lot of people from outside Chicago were like, I was talking to a lot of record labels and they were like, hey, we're sending a band your way. Can you interview them? And I was like, well, I really only do Chicago bands, but I guess if they're here, I can figure out logistically how to meet up with them. So then that's how the Out of Towners happened. That was strictly bands from out of town in the scope of Chicagoland. And then First Rounds on Me, where that was like non-bands taking me to their favorite bar. First Rounds on Me, and we just talk. And then Album Review Roundtable was always something I did. So it was just like formalizing it. So those were like the 4 formats. Album Review Roundtable is going to turn monthly and only be available to Patreon members because that's a little bit more labor intensive. And then Friskie Morris Sessions is just going to be all bands. So that'll be Chicagoland, outside of Chicagoland, outside of North America, any band will be Friskie Morris Sessions. And then the new podcast is going to be called Deep Cuts. And it's a play on, if you're an Office fan, there's an episode where they do New Year's resolutions and Andy is in the roller rink while Dwight's across the street. Yeah, and he's like, play Dave Matthews, Deep Cuts only.
Dave Matthews Band. No hits, deep tracks only.
And I kind of always love that line. And
then they play the dun, 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 and he's like, I said deep cuts.
Yeah, he's like, I guess this is fine. And so the whole idea of Deep Cuts is, no matter who you are, music impacts your life, and everyone kind of has a soundtrack to their life. So what we're going to do is we're going to have people on the podcast from all walks of life, scientists, muralists, musicians, authors, garbage men and women, anyone that has an interesting story to tell. And we're going to, like first love, first kiss, first lost job, pivotal moments in their life with a career change or a move or a divorce or something, and kind of curate this playlist based off these momentous, for better or for worse, moments in their life. And then after the episode, we'll craft a playlist on Spotify that'll be their life as a playlist. So that will be in tandem with their episode. So Deep Cuts will launch in January of 2021. And we're holding off on announcing like who the first couple of guests are, but I'm excited to launch that new one too.
Is Tom Waits your first guest?
Oh, I wish. My roommate at Northern Illinois University was a huge Tom Waits fan. And that was the first time I got introduced to him. And it was the trippiest thing because I'd be taking a nap in the middle of the day and I'd wake up and it'd just be what is going on? Like, am I still dreaming? What is happening? And it was my roommate like blasting Tom Waits. So that was my like introduction to him. But
we deserve to know what he's building in there. So you said garbage men and women, right?
Yeah, I mean, literally anyone. So I have a buddy, I guess this will kind of be like a teaser. I have a couple buddies that are really, really amazing muralists. So I really want to get them involved. I have a couple of buddies that run skate shops that we're going to have on. Of course, we'll have some like musician adjacent folks. So it's kind of like artsy, creative type people for now, people that run record labels, people that run record stores. And then from there, we're just kind of going to branch out. So if there's, someone that comes across our desk that is a really interesting person, like the main thing is we don't want to, this format is for the kind of like larger audience. So if people aren't like a huge punk, hardcore, ska, thrash person, this podcast is going to be that kind of all audiences welcome, because it's more going to be based on storytelling and kind of the songs that had an impact on that person. So it won't be really like genre specific, which I like about it.
You're like basically building a brand is a horrible word to use right there, but you're basically building a whole network of podcasts, all there together. I love it. It's awesome.
Yeah. So that was like, at first it was like, I didn't really know like podcast networks and all of that stuff. And like my wife is actually the person that got me into podcasts. I had no idea what a podcast was until I started dating her. And one of our dates, we went to a live taping of Comedy Bang Bang. And we've seen some other kind of live podcast performances like that. Dax Shepard, Armchair Expert, we saw that at Chicago Theater here in Chicago. And we've been audience members of some other live tapings of podcasts. And she really just introduced me to the format from more of a comedy angle. And then from that, I kind of experienced like Turned Out a Punk with Damian Abraham and some of these more like punk hardcore focused ones that I really enjoyed. And then that's kind of like how all that stuff was birthed. But yeah, podcast, I guess it was like I was doing enough things that were different that I was like, okay, I think now it's more like with Deep Cuts being so different in terms of like the theme of it, it really was like, okay, this can't be like a sub format of Friskie Morris sessions. Like it's really its own standalone thing. So that's kind of why it's now like Friskie Morris and Friends podcast network. And the branding and the naming, I really need to work on that because there's so many things that I have under that umbrella. It's so confusing. Wiley and I have talked about it. It's like, wait, when I searched you on Spotify, it was music, but it's a podcast, right? And I was like, yeah, I know. It's kind of confusing.
My biggest question is what got you? I know you talked about how your wife kind of got you into listening to podcasts and stuff, but what was it that sparked it? What was the thing that was like, you know what? I want to try this. I want to do it.
Yeah, I think it was, so I did speech and debate, AKA forensics, in college at College of DuPage, which is a community college in the western suburbs of Chicago. And then I got a scholarship to do speech and debate at Northern Illinois University. So, and I was a communications major. I started my career in public relations. So I always kind of was told by people that I was kind of charismatic. I was the guy that gave tours too for some extra quiche. So I was one that's like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for coming out to Northern Illinois University. I'm a professional backwards walker. If you come with me, we'll see the student union and we'll see the cafeteria. So I did that both at the community college level and when I transferred to Northern. So I think all of that kind of charismatic, I was always kind of the person in the group to present because everyone was just like, you just go do it. So I think that kind of charisma and speech and debate background combined with kind of when I was recording the solo album, and it was just every song was like a mini super group. So I'd have like the bass player from this band and the guitarist from this band and the drummer from this band. And it being in Turbo Vamps, I played all over, but some of these bands were such in like a niche community in the Chicagoland area that like my buddies in Pilsen that would never have met my buddies in like DeKalb or Harvey or like somewhere more like Rockford, like North Central Illinois, outside of like the Chicagoland area. And they're, oh my gosh, we should play shows together. This is so awesome. So it was that kind of almost like DIY way of connecting bands to other bands. And then this like, hey, I've been told I'm good at this. I've listened to a couple of these podcasts before, and I think I could do something like this. And it kind of just spiraled from there.
That's awesome.
So there is one thing that I don't know if Mick knows, but you came to try out to be the first singer of What's Your Damage?
Yeah. It blows my mind that there's some songs. I think when I was first singing, and I don't think maybe in the last episode, but so far I haven't heard you talk about this, Wiley, but Wiley's all his bands, and correct me if I'm wrong, but last we talked, you're like, I always want to just start an Oi band, but every time I try and start an Oi band, it turns into a different band. So this was like the attempt to like try and actually start an Oi band. And we all know how that went because we've listened to What's Your Damage Now, and it is on the top 5 chart for Oi bands. But I think it was interesting that we tried to go that angle. So a couple of the songs, I think I actually wrote lyrics and like did stuff for two of the What's Your Damage songs, and my vocals and how we did it compared to the finished product, like I still think of my lyrics when I hear the riff, and it's not like one is better than the other, it is just so radically different that I'm just like, this is so cool, but it's also blowing my mind.
So yeah, at that time though, it was only you, me, and Sean, right?
Yeah.
Like
we didn't even have a guitar player.
Yeah, bass, drums, and vocals. That was kind of on purpose though, because we really wanted this band to be bass and drum driven. And so I was like, I want to write most of these songs without, like, I want to find a guitarist, but I want to write most of these songs without a guitar so it can actually be that bass and drum driven stuff.
Yeah.
And then I remember Sean's like, Oi. I mean, I know what Oi is, but how do you play Oi? I don't know how to play. I only really know how to play what I know how to play. So we just like started playing this like dance bass shit. And I was like, this is so rad. Let's just roll with this.
Yeah.
Like,
And at first I thought the dancey bass line, I was like, oh my gosh, this is 100% like I could see that dancey bass riff be an intro to like a Rude Pride song.
Oh,
and
yeah. Rude Pride's good.
And then it was like, because it's like they're just on the cusp of like Oi, but then I'm also like, my friends, I was like, when I introduced them to that band, they're like, why are you showing me an Oi band? I was like, don't worry, if Strike Anywhere was an Oi band, it would be Rude Pride. And they're like, oh, okay, that's a little bit more like inviting. But yeah, that dancey bass line, I was like, that's totally on the cusp of.
But didn't I originally sent you Rude Pride and said like, I want to do like newer kind of Oi.
Yeah, that was like you initially sent me like Rude Pride and Lion's Law, and I don't know. I think those were maybe the two main ones. I think I was already a fan of like Booze and Glory and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of knew that direction, but yeah, it was awesome. And then life hits me in weird ways. So I think like we're in season 6 of the podcast, but it's year 8 that I've done the podcast. Because the past 3 years, like episode 3, you guys were talking a lot about life stuff, and I had the trifecta of life stuff in like 2018. Was I bought a house in like July, and we closed, and I moved in Labor Day weekend, and then I got married the end of October of that same year, and then December of that year, right before Christmas, I started a new job with the Forest Preserves, being a director of a nature center. So all of that hit, and then 2019 was like, oh, you're running this whole team of 10 and this center with animals and all of this other stuff, and you're also married, so you have these obligations, and you also have a home now, so you have these obligations, and just like flatlined, was just like, I have hit my tipping point. So it was kind of just, podcast was the last thing on my mind, so that was like the gap. And then it didn't help either that, you know, we're talking about the financials of the studio time, and that was around the time that I started freelancing for Audio Tree as well, and Audio Tree paid me. So I was like, oh, I get paid to interview bands. Like one of my first episodes was AJJ, Andrew Jackson Jihad. And I was driving home.
I've played with them before.
And I was just like, I am spending X amount of dollars on a podcast. And I'm kind of like self-deprecating at this point in my drive, where I'm just like, I'm doing all this work and spending all this money, and like 100 people are listening to it. And the only people that reach out to me are bands that want to like use me to get on it. But here I'm like interviewing like huge bands and getting paid for it. So I was like, forget this. I'm just not going to do it and see if anyone misses it. And like some people reached out. But then it was like, now that COVID's hit and because I like hosted their Audio Tree live session and I'm not able to go in anymore. So I had the time that I was doing Audio Tree back. And now I'm like, okay, I'll start it back up again. I have some ideas for like deep cuts and how I'm going to reformat it to kind of be a little bit more streamlined. But yeah, super crazy tangent to get back to What's Your Damage. I don't even know how that happened, but yeah.
No, it's cool. But bringing it back to the whole Oi thing, October Death originally started as an Oi band, was supposed to go that direction.
That's right.
But the band kind of split off, and 3 of the members went to Anti-World System, and then us other members formed October Death, and then we picked up Brian Gray, the Blamed, to play guitar. And he got super busy, so then we got Sid of Head Noise to play guitar. And that was a trip. But before I get too ahead of myself too, I want Mick to drop in the What's Your Damage song clip. I'm going to send him the video. I think I might have already sent it to him. I want him to drop a clip in of you singing it. And then I want to, right afterwards, I want to drop a clip of how it ended up.
Oh man. I think too, just so in case people don't hear the lyrics, which probably won't be very audible. When Wiley asked me to sing in this, I said, I will 100% do this, but just know lyrically, I'm going to really go for like a Rage Against the Machine vibe. So it is very like Rage Against the Machine, like kind of political, kind of not, kind of more like Unity.
Yeah, lyrically though, not
lyrically,
musically.
Just lyrically. So I mean, because then it then also helps in the side by side of like what the new lyrics are, which is why I kind of chuckle as well, where like the lyrics that I put to it are very different than the lyrics Quinn put to it. Which is odd. It's a cool like songwriting thing too. Is like, you know, the same song can have totally different themes to it. Yeah, I had definitely had a different melody. I had different themes to my lyrics. But it's like, it's still, both of them are good songs. They're just very different. So what is a professional studio recording? The other one is a Glenn Wiley original on his phone in the t-shirt dungeon.
In a brick, like
concrete.
Yeah.
So there may be a
everywhere.
little bit of a leveling thing, but I believe in you, Mick.
I'll see what I can do. It is a little bit better than doing the jam box on the other side of the door when you have band practice, I guess. Or am I dating myself? That's like that'd be like 90s.
Oh no, you're talking about like hitting like record on a cassette tape.
Yeah, on an old boombox and setting it
Yeah.
on the other side of the door.
I did that before when I was in my first punk band.
I dated myself at work today. There was a girl in our office. There's a desk right next to our printer. And I was like, oh, you're going to be my Kinko's employee for the day. And she's like, what's a Kinko's? I'm going home now.
FedEx bottom or something.
I'm going home.
Yeah.
It was that. And we were talking about like caffeinated beverages and what was the first beverage you drank specifically for the caffeine content. And I guess this is another Midwestern thing, but I said, oh, I remember going to the White Hen Pantry and getting Jolt Cola.
Jolt.
And she said, I have no idea what either of those things are. And I said, you don't know White Hen Pantry? And she said, absolutely not. And I was like, you don't know Jolt Cola? No.
You missed out on so many cavities.
Yeah. I was like, well, what about Surge? You have to know about Surge. And she's like, what are you talking about?
Did you bring up crystal clear Pepsi?
Oh God, no. I don't mess with that. These were beverages that you drink specifically for caffeine content.
Yeah, that shit was
it's like
nasty.
the high octane. Surge was like the one that now I can only find it in Michigan now. It's weird.
Yeah. It was like Faygo probably makes it now.
But I only find it in like New Buffalo, like Union Pier, like ritzy grocery stores, which is very
Surge?
Yeah.
That's random.
Yeah, super duper random.
So tell us how you got this gig with the Pink Hotel. Tell us what Pink Hotel is, and you're playing drums. Was it a 2-piece before you joined it?
Yeah, so going back to Northern, I was in Turbo Vamps at the time, and because I was out there and our drummer and guitarist went to Columbia, so they were in Chicago. So right down I-88, it's a pretty easy drive to get out to DeKalb. So we really got the couple years that I was in DeKalb at Northern Illinois, we did a lot in that local community and local scene. And that's actually where I really discovered hardcore and really got into hardcore more than just the top, more than like Gorilla Biscuit and Agnostic Front, like actually deep diving into hardcore bands. And it was one of the local hardcore bands was called Stations Creation. So Stations Creation was the local, like one of the main local hardcore bands in DeKalb at that time. And one of the guitarists is Tim, who's the guitarist in Pink Hotel.
How many guitar
now.
players do they have?
One. In Stations Creation, they had 2, but in Pink Hotel right now, it's just a 3-piece. So I actually grew up with him. We went to elementary school together all through high school. So I was really good friends with him. And he was the one that was like, hey, you need to come out to this like DIY space and like come start going to these shows. And that's when I fell in love with everything. And the lead singer in that band is Connor, who is the lead singer and bassist in Pink Hotel. So I was very surprised when Connor, who is the lead of this hardcore band that I knew from DeKalb, is sending me these demos that are very like Hives, Weezer, Modern Baseball type, power pop, indie punk type stuff, almost like Strokesy a little bit. And he said, hey, I'm looking for a drummer. Would you be interested? And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, definitely.
Out at a gathering, I don't know anyone. Everyone my age feels younger than me. Someone is smoking, the window is open. Hopefully carrying the smell of weed. Someone turned on a song we used to know. Everyone started to talk about the video.
Hey, hold up
Yeah.
real quick.
Yeah.
The whole drummer thing. How did you become a drummer?
Yeah, so I guess drumming, my dad is one of 6. I'm one of 25 cousins, big Italian family. And one of my uncles, one of my cousins, there's a few people that just like, I had a few uncles and aunts. They were all very musical. And there was always just a drum set lying around. So I did band all through school, and just the rhythm part of it and getting the syncopation down was just something that I had innate. So drummers are always the thing that you can never find a kid in middle school and high school that wants to carry all that stuff around. So drummers were a dime a dozen. So I was in high school, I jammed with some buddies, and one of the siblings had a drum kit, and I was terrible at guitar. I was so at bass, but no one wanted to play drums. So I was like, I guess I'll try it. And I was drumming for that for a little bit. And then ever since then, I've always just had a drum kit and have fiddled around with it, just because with turbo vamps and everything else, I do the primary songwriting. So I always like to fiddle around with it. So when the opportunity came about to drum more formally, and I knew turbo vamps were done, and I had time to kind of do another project, it was also very nice that I knew Connor in a past life. And since this was, he did it, the 2-piece, and they recorded a 3-song EP, the drummer
who
and the
played
2
drums
bass.
on?
I don't know. I'd have to look at the liner notes. I don't know him personally. But Connor wanted to play out, and he was like, I really just want to do recordings and not really play shows or anything. So they kind of split after that 3-song EP. So then this was him like reviving the band based off that 3-song EP for what the sound would be like. So that was just like, it's Strokes, Hives, Weezer type, simple rock, indie drum beats. I can manage this. Let's rock and roll. And it will give me like another project to musically be a part of without having to be the band dad. That was the most important thing. I have been the band dad for over 13 years with Turbo Vamps, and I am my own band dad for Friskie Morris stuff in any capacity. So this was an opportunity for me to literally just send me the songs. I'll figure out how I want to drum to them, and we'll make sweet, sweet music. So, and I didn't have to worry about anything else. So that was like a huge appeal, especially with everything else going on in my life. It was like, I could just sit back, go to practice. I don't have to think of the managerial logistics of it. I can just go and have fun.
Is that nice?
Oh, so nice.
I don't know about that.
I know, right? Another reason why like Wiley and I, like, we commiserate about band dad problems.
We're very similar. Yeah, we're both vocalists who are band dads who dabble on the drums.
Yeah. Where I was, I gotta do a shout out to this podcast that I recently started getting into. It's called No Dogs in Space. And it's kind of a biographical history. So the first season, they started with the Stooges, and they just go into the history of the Stooges. So they like pick different bands throughout kind of like rock history. And they were saying, Iggy Pop, lead singer and a drummer. Joey Ramone, lead singer and a drummer. Wiley Willis, lead singer and a drummer. Stephen E. Falco, lead singer and a drummer. We're all just in this like group together of lead singer and drummers, all of the same caliber and ability. And it's just, so crazy that happens.
Well, I feel like it helps with syncopation and singing because like Zach, when he was playing drums in 2 Minute Minor, my eyes would always be on him. I would always be looking for cues, always just watching him for changes, because as someone who plays the drums myself, I know when I see certain things, what's going to happen next. So I'm just like deadlocked. So, no fear there when you come in and try out, eh?
Yeah. Lock eyes. But yeah, so I feel that, the simplistic style of the drumming and not having to do a ton of the administrative logistics of the band was a really big appeal to me. And I've always liked that style of music. I'm a huge Hives fan and I'm a huge Strokes fan.
Get that vibe from you.
Yeah. And I kind of just I am similar to Mick, as I learned in the episode 3. I played alto saxophone and then moved on to bari sax.
Nice.
And I played bari sax and trombone in jazz band all through high school. And I played bass trombone in full pit orchestra in high school and stuff. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Pink Hotel, we're recording new tunes right now. We have 4 that we're recording this winter that we're kind of doing DIY style that we're going to be releasing in early 2021. So we're excited for that. We got all of 2 practices in before COVID. So we have been itching to do some stuff once all of this stuff starts to get lifted.
That's what happened with the new What's Your Damage that we're working on. Like myself, Bob, and Sean got together like right before COVID hit, or I think it just hit, and we kind of knew it was coming to a lockdown. And I think we had like 3 songs written for this new EP. And Bob's like, hey, I'm going to give you a hug now because I don't think I'm going to see you again. Because he moved to Seattle, Yeah. But that was like months later. But luckily, Bob gave him a hug because he hadn't seen him again. He's gone.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy.
He's gone.
It's weird. It's so weird to think about stuff like that. Yeah.
It is weird, man. Turbo Vamps was a staple punk band in Chicago. You can argue that all you want, but it's true. I saw you guys open up for Slapshot at Reggie's. Reggie's, right?
Yeah, that was Reggie's. Yeah. Yep. Opened for Misfits at the Vic. We've done a lot. Yeah.
A lot. And then you came out with the vinyl. I saw you got, what was that show I saw you guys at? I think you were playing with Brick Assassin.
No, yeah. We played Quenchers, and that was Esky and Brick Assassin and oh my gosh, what is Brian's band? Coronary and us.
Yep.
We're like just street punk enough to play with the hardcore bands and just street punk enough to play with the punk bands. So it was the perfect kind of towing that line of like Casualties, Unseen, Lower Class Brats, Cliff 45 type music that really towed it well so we could play with a bunch of different bands.
Everyone is brave for being an individual, a trendsetter. Yeah, that's the same to hate and fear for going against the norm. Hypocritical servants of society, get on the media so fast. Tell us we'll never get it right. You can never get it right. Reinforce the blood on a show for everyone, so they have someone to love and someone to hate, so they feel better about themselves and what they do. Welcome to the masquerade. Welcome to the masquerade. Welcome to the masquerade. Let's go. Pressures of conformity make us rebel in essence. We disagree with cultural standards, but only behind pillars doors. Well, I'm taking off my mask. See me for who I am.
So I think your new vinyl just came out then, right? Around that time?
Yeah, that would have.
Kid drinking.
Yeah, Death by Misadventure. That was the 7-inch that we put out. And we all.
Have you seen the artwork, Mick?
I think so. I was actually, while you guys were talking too, I went back to and was looking at stuff. I always look at stuff online while we're talking so I can take notes. So I was checking it out.
Just drew me to your band. I was like, oh, this is so good. It's those monsters, and it's got like that cool, like kind of 90s, 80s, like neon vibe to it.
Yeah, so that was
that artwork.
that's Matthew Ryan Sharp with Midwestern work ethic, and he is a amazing artist. He does all the artwork for the Friskie Morris podcast. So all the different podcast images are him.
And the Welcome to Chicagoland stuff too, right?
So that's actually Kyle Bach. So that's another graphic designer in Chicago. But Matt also does all of he partners with Simeon and does all the Stupid Rad stuff. So Stupid Rad merch company up in Lake Villa in the northern suburbs of Chicago does artwork for them. And then he does artwork he did 350 Brewing Company, which is a Chicagoland brewery, Arrowhead, another one. He's done coffee brands and seasoning brands. He's just like got a very cool aesthetic. But I'm a huge like hardcore thrash guy. One of my favorite shows I went to at a venue that does not exist anymore was Agnostic Front and Municipal Waste. So you had all of these like skater thrash kids with all of these super buff, like skinhead hardcore guys. And it just did not end well for anyone. There was like a pit going, someone got hit, the wrong person got knocked out, like the whole show stopped. This like skinhead guy got carried off. Everyone kind of turned to this like sad skater thrasher kid in his cut off jean vest, not knowing what just happened. Minute the Nest Agnostic Front song jumped off, huge brawl. Like someone got like typical, like stereotypical brawl scene in any movie. Pool cue sticks are being smashed. You had like 15 guys handcuffed sitting in the parking lot, and they were sitting handcuffed in the alley, the parking lot, like driveways. So no one could get out of the parking lot until all of these people that got arrested were processed and put in the paddy wagon. So we're just like sitting with Municipal Waste, like being their roadies for the show, getting free merch for helping them like load their van while all these, so because we couldn't leave the show. But I told Matt, I was like, we started as a horror punk band. I had a devil lock and skeleton makeup when we first started, heavily influenced by Monkey from the Addicts in our avant-garde frontman persona. So, and then I was like, I want kind of that horror to come back into play. But then I also want the Municipal Waste album cover, The Art of Partying, where they're all zombies, like at a pool party. I was like, I want that.
That's a fun cover.
I want, if the Monster Mash and Municipal Waste Art of Partying had a baby, that's what I want the album cover to be. And that's Death by Misadventure. And each one of the monsters is one of us. So I'm the werewolf. Our drummer Tommy is the mummy. Our bassist Sean is Frankenstein. And Creature from the Black Lagoon is Andrew, our guitar player.
I can run my life and you should be too. They're coming! I saw the ship sailing through high noon skies. They're coming! Music is don't know how to classify it. They're coming! Will they be freedom look exactly like us? They're coming! Watch your back 'cause they're coming for you. Blaze too strong. The stories have come true. This is the end. No survivors. They've been spying on us all this time. They're attacking. They know alarm lands in every strategy. They're attacking. Our leaders are cowered behind padlocked doors. They're attacking. War of the world ain't got nothing on this. They're attacking.
So
That's awesome.
you're the werewolf. Hold on, let me look at this.
Yeah, I'm the werewolf in my cutoff jean jacket, holding up the Mad Dog 2020 with pride. Back in my drinking days.
That artwork is amazing.
It's so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Who's the dude in the front, the very front?
So the vampire guy was kind of just like the general like Turbo Vamps mascot, because the first idea I had before we did the monsters, the individual monsters for the band members, was I was like, I want Dracula shotgunning a beer, like he's sucking the blood out of the beer can kind of thing. And he was like, that's going to be really hard to conceptualize and draw and get that message across. So then we were brainstorming other ideas, and that's how the monsters came about. So then the idea of having this like vampiric, because it's Turbo Vamps, having a vampiric like mascot kind of was always going to be something.
It's a great album cover. You should be proud of it for sure.
Thanks, man. One of the few that I got one of those like 7-inch frame cases where you put the vinyl in and then like fold out the album cover. So I got like 5 of those because we did random color vinyl presses. So I picked like my top like 5 colors that we got and then just had all the overlays of the album cover.
That's killer.
Yeah, it is killer.
You can't touch this. You can't touch this. You can't touch this. You can't touch this. My music hits me so hard.
So thanks for being on the show, brother.
Yeah, man. Awesome.
Yeah, of course. My pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right. So here it is, the end of episode 1 of season 2. And just so you know, we got some cool stuff coming out with our next episode. This stuff will be dropping in February and March. We're going to be releasing a coffee and hardcore coffee with Oak and Crow coffee and some hardcore mugs. That's right. We're dropping our own coffee. Like, this is like dream come true for me. Like, we get free coffee to taste and, review. But now we got our own stuff coming out. I think we got 2 different blends coming out, right?
Correct. Medium and dark, because I drink medium, you drink dark.
That's right. And so we got the cool mugs coming out, which I'm drinking out of mine right now, and it's pretty killer.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Thanks to Larry.
Yes.
For designing that.
But not only do we got the mugs coming out and the coffee coming out, we also got coffee and hardcore shirts coming out.
We do.
And then, which are pretty killer, by the way.
Crew.
We also got a 10-song kids cartoon theme song cover album from 2 Minute Minor coming out on Coffee and Hardcore Records. All the songs are from the 80s and the 90s, and you might hear my kids on it.
Oh, you will.
And here's the rad thing about that is all the proceeds from that album are going to suicide prevention. All the online proceeds, right, are going to suicide prevention.
No, all
of it.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Okay, so
yeah,
everything is going to
physical copies. Yeah, everything.
That's awesome. And then not only is all that stuff going on in February and March, but we also have Jacob from Oak and Crow joining us to talk to us again, because we're going to talk about, the coffee and hardcore brews that we're doing, as well as some other cool stuff. And I think we're going to talk about some band stories too, once again, because we had fun talking the last time and we got a ton. We could talk about it even more.
It's true.
And we're also going to be chatting with the guys from Brutality Coffee and reviewing their coffee as well.
That's right.
Good stuff for the next episode.
That's right, folks. It's going to be a great second episode of season 2. We hope you enjoyed this episode. And again, sorry for taking December off, but circumstances that were out of our control, the death of a loved one, the holidays, we just found it necessary to do so. Also, like Mick said, the 2 Minute Minor kids album's coming out, titled Back in Our Day, but a single of that drops. And that's, we're going to do the Jeffersons. We're dropping the Jeffersons as a single. And the pre-order comes out January 22nd, Friday, January 22nd. And that is also Mick's birthday.
It is. I'm an old man. I'm turning 46.
Nice. That's not old. So, hey, we'll see you in February, friends. And this is Wiley Willis. And
this is Mick Cox.
Signing off. See ya.
Hi, this is HR Human Rights from Bad Brains, and you're listening to Coffee and Hardcore Podcast. Much love and positivity.
Coffee and hardcore, coffee and hardcore, coffee and hardcore, move it on. Coffee and hardcore, coffee and